let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk at all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the badge, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. You can cancel the show, but not the crowd. We're still here, still talking loud. Gander the free on every spell. Hit that mic, host, let the truth ring out. This is red, white, and raised hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rail from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raised hell.
All right, welcome everybody. We are live in Houston for day number 2 of the NRA's 155th annual convention. Absolutely extraordinary, part of Voices of 2A. There are around 30 or so different live streamers and podcasters and radio shows who are here to celebrate American freedom and to talk about the challenges that still remain with protecting our civil rights, protecting the Bill of Rights, the most important of which may indeed be the second one. That's why we're here with the NRA, and we are joined right off the top. First of all, thank you for tuning in on a Saturday. We never go live on a Saturday. We're Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. and then on playback. But we're doing this today because, well, for obvious reasons. This is why we're here, as I said, the NRA. And we're joined right off the rip by one of the members of the NRA board of directors and the host of Eye on the Target Radio, which is nationally syndicated. And she's the reason I'm here as an invited guest to be one of these very, very limited select group of podcasters and, like I said, live streamers. Amanda Suffolk-Cole. Oh. Welcome to you, and thank you for welcoming me.
Well, thanks for coming. I think that that's part of the purpose of Voices, is so that we get a diverse group of voices that come from all different portions of the United States that kind of have different backgrounds and different vantage points and different viewpoints. And so it all goes together really well to just show how gun owners in America are just a different slice of the population. So it's an even slice of the population. And you guys, the whole Voices Row is doing that and doing it really well.
Yeah. What do you see, Amanda, as the trend with respect to the population and slices of the population? Because I talked to a couple of the other members, not of the board, but administrators and executives, and we're looking at demographics. And obviously you are very, very big on women, and what's it called? Womenforgunrights.org is one of the organizations you're with.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the demographics and the growth.
Well, so one of the things is that for years, gun ownership was assumed to be bearded guys in plaid shirts, right? And it was
100%.
And I got involved in being an instructor 22 years ago, actually. And I would walk into a gun shop and they would look at me like, who are you and what do you want? Why are you here? Right? Yeah, I mean, it was sort of like Little Rascals with no stinking girls allowed, right? There's a sign right over there. But it's really shifted. It's really changed. And women are the fastest growing demographic. And so we're looking at, I think part of it is a 24-hour news cycle, because they're going to, if it bleeds, it leads, if they're going to try to work on it to scare you. And part of it is just political and social responsibility. Whose job is it to protect yourself and your family? And so all of that kind of goes together. So women are getting more involved. And then there's the fun aspect of guns. You know, just going to the range, the challenge, the shooting, the I can be better than someone else, you know, the steel challenges or the ARC challenges or USPSA or any of those kinds of things. And so it's like, look, it's an exercise that is interactive. It's a challenge of yourself and your skills. I mean, there's lots to love. You know, so it all kind of goes together.
I love the first part too, though, you know, is that women are taking it upon themselves for self-defense and protection, because you write about if it bleeds. You can't not see what's in the news cycle these days, right. You know, and not just the 27 mainstream news, but the social media news and the repeat stories of people being victimized, right. and not always by illegal immigrants, but they are a lead story because
it's a lead,
as a percentage of the population of people who are here, not citizens, but people who are here, it's way outsized. So women who are being brutalized and targeted in many ways by people who have no respect for law or authority whatsoever have to protect themselves.
Right.
And is that, you know, I know you speak to a lot of groups, and you and obviously with the women's right or Women for Guns.
Women for Gun Rights.
Womenforgunrights.org.
So I'm actually
finding that.
Yeah, I am. So let me tell you that. So in 2004, I became a firearms instructor. And so my brother, Rob, who we together do the Eye on the Target radio,
right.
We kind of talk about a lot of stuff. And what's really funny is some people connect with me as their instructor. Some connect with him as the instructor. We're teaching as a two-person team. And invariably, somebody's like, your assistant is really good. And then there'll be some other person in the room that says, your assistant is really good, assuming that one of us was the lead instructor or the other, right? But over time, I've gotten involved in a variety of groups. One of them is Women for Gun Rights, and Women for Gun is actually a kind of a quasi-political, nonpartisan political organization defending the Second Amendment and showing that well-spoken professional women also care about gun rights. And so we go to Washington, D.C., we talk to our legislators, we walk Capitol Hill, we have a rally on the Supreme Court steps. I mean, we do some really, really amazing stuff. And you'll see a lot of women in teal making statements that push back against the red-shirted mommies, because moms like them don't speak for moms like us, right? So there's that. I'm also on the legacy board for for a Girl and a Gun Legacy Foundation, where it is a large women's shooting organization, training and shooting and education that's spreading all over. It's like little clubs and chapters all over the country that are introducing women to guns and gun safety and that responsibility thing. But a couple of years ago, it gets really scary telling you how many years ago, but in 2017, I put together a concealed carry fashion show because people were like, how do you carry? You know, and with guys, it's really simple. You know, you guys are all pretty much one shape. Maybe there's two shapes of guys, but there's not a lot of shapes of guys. But when you look at women, we have a shape, right? And so some are apple shaped, some are pear shaped. And so how one person carries, another one doesn't. And they would ask me how I carry. And it was like, look, I'm 5'9" and you're 5'2", right? We're not going to, your waist is at a different, we're not going to carry in the same way. So we started and we put together a concealed carry fashion show. And that fashion show was so popular that it took off in Cleveland, Ohio. That Vice, the documentary group, did an hour-long documentary about concealed carry because they ain't never seen nothing like that, right? So they were a little like, oh, this is weird. And so they only featured us because they're very liberal. They only featured us because they thought we were weirdos. But it was as fair as they could be. It was pretty fair. So then 2 years later, HBO came and said, hey, we want to feature this. So come and talk to us. So we got to talk to audiences that we wouldn't get to talk to any other time. It was.
So any HBO subscribers watching right now, can they find that?
They should be able to
find
it.
Demand on streaming? Or?
and I don't remember what the HBO one. The Vice one was named Packing Heat in Heels.
Okay.
But I don't remember what the HBO one was called. But
is that condescending?
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was.
I guess
right?
I get their point, but I'm also wondering if it isn't, like you said, a little bit.
Oh, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a little bit. It was a
Okay.
lot. But here's the thing. People are like, why did you talk to Vice? Vice doesn't like us. It's like, well, if we don't get brave enough to step into those areas and speak, they get to own the entire narrative.
Yeah.
At least this way, we get some play into that narrative.
You can't keep preaching to the same choir.
No.
You have to speak to other people if you're going to grow the membership and grow the movement of self-protection, self-defense, and our liberties. So I totally agree. I want to ask you not about the carry, which you explained very well, but I don't remember how it came up yesterday, but somebody brought up training, and obviously such an experienced trainer like you. Is there a different way of training a woman than a man? And I say that largely because everybody is talking about now, because of staying in the men and women's sports and so forth, the physical body strength, size, bone density, musculature, blah blah blah, and of course where some weapons are heavier than others, some tools are
right.
So I'm just wondering, do you train differently for a woman? And I don't care if it's you or your brother. You have a male and you have a female. Do you train them the same?
I do, simply because I don't have a prescribed regimen of how I train. My training is, I'm going to give you 5%, then I'm going to watch how you interact with it, and then I'm going to give you the next 5%, matching back to where you are.
Okay.
So I'm going to train you where I'm meeting you where you are.
So that's different for everybody, regardless of their sex.
Regardless. So limitations. I mean, I've had people that have MS. I've had people in wheelchairs. Just because you have no less responsibility to defend yourself if you've got some weakness, some disability, some challenge that you're dealing with in your life. I mean, frankly, it makes it more important if you can't run and you can't hide and you can't get away. Your options are right there. So yeah, that's how I train. But there's things to keep in mind, and that's the biggest one. And you nailed it with strength. And so, I mean, I don't know how many times I've gone to a gun shop and they're like, little lady, here's what you need. Get a revolver, because that mechanical stuff, that's kind of hard to do, right? I was like, well, before or after my engineering degree, do you want to explain to me the mechanical stuff, right? Let's go down that path. Oh, well, maybe there was some sarcasm right there, right? And but it really is, so typically, like when I introduce somebody to a gun, I'm like, here, what we're going to do, we're going to put out a variety of them. And I want you to pick up each one and then tell me which ones you don't like. Then we'll narrow down which ones you do like, because you can't say which one you want. They don't know. It'd be like sending somebody to a car dealership and saying, you want a car. You've never driven, you've never ridden in one, you don't know anything, but you've seen red ones and green ones go down the road. Well, do you want a sedan? Do you want a truck? What are you doing with it?
Yeah.
Where are you taking it? Are you off-roading? What exactly? So letting them get in, let them test drive it, say, this fits me, this doesn't, my head hits the top here, or this, I can't get behind the seat, whatever. And so fit matters. And so working on that piece of it at the same time, and duty, what is it going to do? What is its job? And then work on that.
Yeah, I love that approach. And I love that analogy too, because people they go into it and, without any clue whatsoever.
Right.
They need, you need to understand what their goal is and what their mission is, what their reason for being there is. And then they will tell you what their, together you can kind of figure out what might be a suggested thing. But that again, that condescending, get yourself a revolver. You don't want one of those big heavy things.
Right. It's kind of interesting. Here's the other thing about gun owners versus anybody else, right? I ride a motorcycle, right? I run a chainsaw, right? All this kind of stuff. But if you look at it, there is nobody that you can walk up to their motorcycle and go, that's really nice. Can I take it for a ride? Right? There's a whole trust level. But a gun owner, if you're like, I'm thinking about this or I'm thinking about that, they're like, I got one of those. Come on, we'll go to the range together. You can shoot it, right? I'll take you. So gun owners are like, I love this sport. Let me bring you in.
I can say this too. I was literally telling Charlie, my friend and partner here for this weekend, 25,000 people in here yesterday, probably another 25, 30,000. I think you're expecting
75, 80,000 over the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. I've never seen a more polite group of people by the thousands. And I mean, everywhere from over there, at the lunch tables to, all of the exhibits and so forth. It's very crowded. A lot of places shoulder to shoulder. You could not meet a nicer group of people. Nobody's shoving, nobody's pushing, nobody's hard-assing the way they do in a lot of other places. And it's because I think everybody here has the same respect for one another and for where we are.
Well, they say that an armed society is a polite society. So, and you see this, it's a whole lot more. I mean, if you don't know, I mean, you can't, if you go someplace and you're an absolute jerk, I mean, push them, knock down, whatever jerk thing, and you don't know if they can fight back or not, you're a whole lot braver in some place that you can't. I mean, that is exactly why we have such an issue with active killers in places that there are no gun zones. Right, because they know those cowardly bastards know that nobody can fight back, and so in a place where the playing field is level, you know, they're not nearly as brave.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we all see these viral videos of all of these, you know, people losing their temper in public and you know, swinging on somebody. And I don't see anybody losing their temper here at all. They
Look at that, you know. Yeah. Well, if there's a last sandwich, maybe you might see a tussle, right? I mean, because there's nobody here that looks like they've missed a stack of meals.
You've got something coming up at 9:30, so I'm going to let you go after this one.
Okay.
But you need to tell us about the extraordinary honor that you received last night. You got to tell us about the Sybil Ludington Freedom Award.
Yeah. This is, let's start with, I was shocked. I was amazed. I was going to cry, and I'm speechless, and I am never speechless. But no, they, at the women's, WLF Women's Leadership Forum luncheon, they had Tyrus there, but he was the featured speaker. It was an amazing event, but they brought me up on stage, and I won the most prestigious NRA award for females that the NRA has. So the Sybil Ludington Award, and it was it was fabulous.
Tell those who don't know, and I had to look it up myself, who Sybil Ludington was.
Well, I had to look it up myself this morning, right? I'm like, oh, well, here's Sybil Ludington, you know, and I don't know how much, maybe you do. All I know is that, you know, Paul Revere rode this long and everybody talks about him, and Sybil Ludington rode 3 times longer at a younger age, doing more badass stuff than he ever did, and she got second billing. That's the part I picked up.
No, she didn't get second billing. She got 0 billing. I don't remember hearing the name in high school, you know, history class, U.S. history. Obviously, everybody knows Paul Revere's ride, so I had no idea about this. In fact, Charlie mentioned it this morning because he saw it on your Facebook page, and I pulled it up and said, I'll be darned. That's why I wanted to ask you about it. But I had never heard of her name before. Now it does use, at least in, was it just Wikipedia? You looked that up? Sybil Ludington?
Wikipedia.
No, it was.
Where did you look?
Well, whatever you pulled up.
Oh yeah, so I pulled it up from Wikipedia and ran
so the word alleged was used there. So maybe that's why it didn't make it in the history books. Has it not been documented by historians? I don't know.
But Wikipedia, the alleged is, you know, there's always some alleged on the Second Amendment, folks. Right? They're like, we don't like what they did, so we'll allege.
Yeah, there used to be. I used to have a page on Wikipedia, and I read so much, factual misinformation there that
You're like, hey,
I did everything I could. Yeah, I did everything I could to take it down, which I think I got done. But anyway, it's such an amazing story, and whether the facts are recorded properly or not, the fact is there were women who were heroes there, and her name is on, like you said, the most prestigious award, which means there must be enough evidence for the NRA have decided, and for the women gun owners to name it after that. And I think it's extraordinary, and just, you know, commemorating women's roles in the revolution, roles in the founding, 250 years next or in July. I almost said next month. In July, obviously, we're going to celebrate the founding, and we're going to talk about the founding fathers and the generals and all of the troops that did the fighting. But women's roles, of course, need to be recognized. And this is one great way to do that.
All of my friends, I brought the award down. It's sitting on our booth over on the next row over in Radio Row. And all of our friends are going, we're going to take our pocket flashlights and shine it on there and just make fun of you. I was like, that's what friends are for, right?
Love it. Well, congratulations on that wonderful award. It's kind of like almost like a career achievement award, because you have dedicated. How much longer are you going to go? How long have you been on the board?
3 years. I just got elected. I just got elected today at the meeting that I'm going to go to in like 10 minutes. They'll swear in for another 3 years.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, congratulations on that. But is this a lifetime project for you?
So the Second Amendment I've been very active in it since about 2004. I'm the child of a gun collector. My mother taught hunter safety. My grandfather shot trap. Some of my absolute earliest memories is my grandfather making us go around the trap field. Before you could buy reloading supplies, we would go around the trap field with a pillowcase and pick up wads so that he could reload, and then we would wash them in grandma's washing machine when grandma wasn't home, right? So those are, and it was like, Grandpa, why did you make us do it? He's like, you guys were way closer to the ground. It was easier for you to bend over.
Of course, that makes sense. I read some bio of you, and I don't know if you wrote it or somebody wrote it about you, that said you were born with a rattle in one hand and a Ruger in the other. Is that pretty accurate?
My dad had the most complete collection of Ruger 357s, and the lifetime achievement for him is he actually got to meet Bill Ruger while Bill Ruger was displaying his collection, and Bill Ruger came and talked to him.
That's so cool. That is so cool. I thought maybe it was just the alliteration thing, rattle and Ruger. It's
actually really the Ruger 357s. Yeah.
Love it. Well, Amanda, congratulations on your award. Congratulations on your ongoing success and the growth of the NRA. Have we turned a corner, by the way?
Oh, yes.
There was a rough period, obviously.
We absolutely have. And we're at the spot now where people are recognizing it, not just, so when you're doing a turnaround, the inside people know that it turned. The outside people don't. And so you're waiting for them to see the ship turn. They're waiting for that shift and all of that kind of stuff. It has stopped, it has turned, and it is headed back upriver.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's pretty. Just stay tuned. You'll more and more really good stuff coming out of there.
Well, I'm so happy to be here, and so happy for you. Congratulations. Keep up the amazing work.
Okay, thanks.
All right, that's Amanda Suffolk. I on the targetradio.com and womenrights.org as well. Don't forget to find her there. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right. Wow, we are off and running, and Charlie now is going to adjourn because he's going to go and relieve. I'll just give you the lowdown here about what's happening. Charlie Kalani is our good friend. He is the politically incorrect mechanic. You may know him by that, owner of Charlie's automotive services in Lakewood. And Charlie has been doing an amazing job of, first of all, helping me get everything up and on the live stream yesterday and today, and we'll do tomorrow morning. Tomorrow will be a very brief 1 hour broadcast from day 3 of the convention, because we're going to have to catch flight. So we're going to probably just do an hour from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time, 9 to 10 here where we are in Houston. And Charlie has booked some amazing guests, and he's just kind of played a utility role. He's like a utility infielder who can play every position, maybe play some outfield too. One of the things he's doing right now is he's going to be a placeholder. Dr. John R. Lott Jr., who is the founder and the president of crimeresearch.org and the author of countless books on the Second Amendment, including More Guns, Less Crime, Gun Myths. He's doing 6 seminars here at the convention over the weekend. I think he did 3 yesterday, and he's got 3 more today. And he's doing gun control myths. Hold on a second. I might be able to actually hold that up a minute, because I did save a screenshot of the, I should say I took a picture of the presentations. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, he's doing gun control myths presentation, which is kind of mirrors his book, one of his books. He's doing the FBI crime data is politicized and a mess. That's factual. Every time John comes out, by the way, with either a new book or a new article that runs in national publications, he texts it to me, and then I have him on, because John is just a brilliant man, and who is all over the research. He's not a quote unquote gun rights activist, as one might think of one. He's a researcher, hence crimeresearch.org. I mean, that's what his degree is in, his doctorate. So he's a researcher, and he follows where the research takes him. And anyway, he's just extraordinarily well read and knowledgeable, and he messages me every time he's got something new, and I put him on, because he needs to be platformed as much as possible, and he appreciates what we do and how we do it and who we reach and so forth. So we saw him yesterday, at his booth, and I said, John, you got to come by tomorrow. We got to have in between all of your seminars and presentations. You got to come by our booth. And he said, well, they're really hard on me though about leaving the booth unattended. I have to have somebody here. And I said, Charlie, utility infielder, it's time to go play that position. So Charlie just took off. He's going all the way down the other end of the convention hall, which, by the way, is mammoth. It won't take a minute. It's going to take minutes for him to get all the way down to the other end where John's booth was or is. But Charlie is going to fill the role, play John Arlott Jr. for 20 minutes or so, or half an hour while we talk to John here live on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. I wanted to see his, I think it might be just those 2 topics, and he's doing them each 3 times, which is why he's doing 6 total. I think that might be the case, but I would just in the event that there is another one. FBI crime data again, gun myths again. He's a very busy man. We're also going to try to track down Ed Monk too live, because you've heard Ed Monk live, and then also played back on Thursday's show as we were prepping everything for our trip down here. So Ed Monk, who of course is a retired lieutenant colonel who trains. I think those are John's 2 presentations. He's just giving them, like I said, each 3 times at different points. But Ed Monk is doing his he trains people. He trains organizations, schools, churches, any organization that wants to be prepared for the eventuality, unlikely as it may be, more likely now in this climate, in this, I don't know if we want to say decade or a couple of decades, or going back to Columbine in 99, maybe, but more likely to be active shooting situation than ever before. At least, like I said, over the last 30 years, I guess we'll call it. But he trains leaders and organizers on how to prepare for the eventuality of one of those, kind of like you would do an earthquake training or a tornado drill or a fire drill, those kinds of things. So anyway, Ed Monk is giving several presentations this weekend as well. And since we did a live interview with him that you've heard twice on replay, he's here. So we're going to talk about some fresh material with Ed Monk too a little bit later on today. So that's just kind of a little bit of a lowdown of where we are as we are live in Houston at the NRA's 155th annual convention, which is, like I said, pretty extraordinary. Oh, I run down the other guests. I apologize before John Lott comes by. Dr. Lott. There is a young Texan, a black female who is about as unapologetically conservative as it gets. She is a rising star in the conservative influencer community. She's got, social media channels. Her Instagram channel has blown up because one of her proud conservative video rants was picked up by President Trump and shared by President Trump. So that kind of made her go mega viral. And she, like I said, she is a massive supporter of the Second Amendment, the NRA, friend of the NRA, and her name is Peyton Jackson. She's going to be with us right after we're done with John Lott. She'll be our 10 o'clock guest. And I think this could get really interesting, because when it was pitched to me by the organizers to see if I would talk to Peyton Jackson, she was described to me as being, what was the word that was used? I cannot remember it, but it was something to the something in the vein of she is aggressive and unapologetic. It wasn't spicy, but it was, she is very, very loud and proud and in your face about what she believes. And he said, would you talk to her? And I said, what, are you kidding me? She is everything that we need. Loud, proud, conservative, unapologetic. And the fact that she's black and a female, it's just icing on the cake. Because, we're a big tent party, we're a big tent conservative movement, but we need more members of other races and, yes, women to be a part of, this movement. So the tent has plenty of space underneath it. In fact, a young woman who is being described, and I haven't met her yet, but a young woman who's being described the way they're describing Peyton Jackson, she's going to be one of the tent posts holding it up. So I said, hell yes, bring her, and we will dive into all of it. And I think combative was one of the words that was used, but I don't think she'll be combative with me, because I'm going to pretty much agree with everything she says. But she's ready and willing to take on the left without any, no gloves, bare knuckle. Let's go. That was the description. So I'm looking forward to that one. So that's at 10 o'clock. At 10:30, this is one that I'm really looking forward to. Do you remember the name of Stephen Williford? Do you remember? This is one of the most extraordinary acts of heroism. You know, we have seen a few people who have stepped up in the middle of active shooting situations. I'm trying to remember the year. There it is, 2017. If you remember Sutherland Springs was the worst mass shooting in Texas history. Okay, Sutherland Springs, Texas. It was November 5th of 2017 when a young, twisted, deranged killer named Devin Kelly shot and killed 26 people and wounded 22 others at the church in Sutherland Springs, the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs. He was shot and wounded and then killed himself. The deadliest in Texas history and the deadliest in an American place of worship across the country, surpassing, sadly, the Charleston church shooting of 2015 and the Waddell Buddhist temple shooting of 1991. Those had been the two largest places of worship, death counts, death tolls in the country until Sutherland Springs. So where does Stephen Williford come in? He was the individual who shot Devin Kelly and stopped that reign of terror. Kelly came into that place, and I'll let Stephen tell more of the story when he comes on at 10:30. But Devin Kelly came into that place, body armored up, and screamed, "Everybody dies." And he unleashed 450 rounds. There he is, 450 rounds before he was shot by Stephen Williford, who, again, kind of saved, I can't even tell you how many lives. So that'll be a conversation for 10:30. But I hear that voice. I've heard it many, many times. But now I get to see him face to face for the very first time. Well, technically yesterday at his booth. This is Dr. John Arlott Jr., the founder and the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center.
It's great
Dr.
to
Lott,
see you.
good to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I mean, six seminars over two.
Yeah, well,
are you doing any tomorrow?
I do 2 each day.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
So you're doing each one, gun control miss 3 times, and you're doing the FBI crime statistics are a hot mess 3 times.
Right.
Okay.
I'd have you fix my titles a little bit on those things. Because have a natural talent for that, I think.
Oh, no. John, I have so much respect for you. As you know, we have talked many, many times, and I was just telling the audience after I finished with Amanda Suffolk from the NRA, every time you put out a new piece, a new article, I mean, it's not just your books, but all of your continuing research and presentations, you text me with them, and almost every time we're going to have a conversation about it because you're doing such tremendous ongoing work. But
it doesn't do me any good to do the work if people don't hear about it, and so I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate the fact that you continue to do the work because you have become, I shouldn't say this declaratively, I'll ask you if this is how you would characterize it. You have become kind of persona non grata in this field because, they hate the fact that you research facts and you present them. They don't like the outcome, and so they'll deplatform you. Everybody on the left, everybody in the gun control group, and Democrats in Congress, they don't want to hear from you anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, surely it's kind of a lightning rod type issue. You have kind of people on both sides. It's obviously something people feel strongly about. I mean, you look at polls, and gun control has been more of a dividing issue between Republicans and Democrats than really any other issue. I mean, abortion would be about as close, but it's messed up my academic career for sure. But you just do what you got to do on these things, and I suppose one of the more disappointing things is that you just can't get people to debate and stuff.
Nobody wants to come at you because you've got facts that they cannot rebut,
and
that's why they cancel. They cancel what they can't defeat.
Right. One of the things that, particularly with the debates, so many people just kind of spout things that they hear, but if you understand, one of the things I find effective in debates is I know how the data is put together and stuff, and so I can explain, if they make a claim, even if it's a lot of academics, I can explain why it's misleading or whatever, how the data is put together.
Right.
And,
That's what you've done in countless interviews with me, and I know some others. You'll take those statistics and then break them down into sub-statistics and then also point out what the problem was in the methodology.
Right.
And point out things that other people won't, and that makes you a nightmare for them. You mentioned academics. It's ruined your academic career. Your willingness to go into all of this and present these facts. All the times you and I have spoken, we've talked about your books, we've talked about your articles. I don't think we've ever talked about your academic career.
Well, I mean, I've had academic research and teaching positions at Stanford, University of Chicago, the Wharton Business School, Yale, UCLA, Rice. I also worked in the federal government. What protected me for a long time was I published a lot of papers. There was a ranking that came out of economists worldwide for publications that they made between 1969 and 2000. And during that period of time, even though I didn't start publishing until 1986, after I got my PhD, I was ranked 4th in the world in terms of economists, in terms of pages published in peer-reviewed academic journals. And that provided me protection. I mean, I did a lot of controversial papers. Gun stuff wasn't the only thing. And anyway, when I was at the University of Chicago, my book, More Guns, Less Crime, came out in May 98. And in November 1998, Mayor Daley Jr. Called up Hugo in the University of Chicago and went through for 45 minutes all the wonderful things the city wanted to do with the school. And then at the end of the conversation, he said, but Lott's continued presence at the university was going to do, quote, irreparable harm to the relationship between the city and the school. And so a couple days later, I was called into the dean's office and told that they were asking me to leave. And I told Dan Fischel, the dean, I said, look, Dan, if you ask me to leave during the middle of the school year, people are going to think I committed some crime or something like that. You're going to just completely destroy my career. I won't go through the whole battle, but basically at the end, if I agreed not to talk to the media anymore, they would let me stay there through the end of that school year. And there's more to that story. But then I went on to Yale. And the second year I was at Yale in the law school, I was asked to testify in Hawaii by state legislators there. They were planning changes to the crazy gun registration licensing laws they had there in the state. And I told the legislators who were inviting me, I said, look, you've told me that the Honolulu police chief is going to be testifying on the other side. What you need to do is ask him 2 questions before he testifies so that he can answer these. You need to ask him, 1, how many crimes have they been able to solve since they instituted licensing and registration in 1960? And how much does it cost each year to go and run the program? And when he got up and testified before me, he said he couldn't identify any crimes that they've been able to solve, and that he estimated that it took about 50,000 hours worth of police time each year in order to run the program. And you could feel the air go out of the room at the time. And basically the bill was defeated. And when I got back to Yale, the 2 U.S. senators from Hawaii had called up and complained. I was basically called into the Associate Dean's office, Susan Rose Ackerman, and told that I wasn't going to be welcome at the law school after that year. And so, and then at that point, it was hard to get an academic appointment because the word had kind of out that, you get politicians calling up and complaining about me at different places. And I could go on. There are other stories, but that gives you
that gives me an idea. So, John, last question about this, and we'll get into why we're here. At any point, did you think, I've got to stop? I want to keep my career. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop saying the things, going to stop presenting the research and so forth, and creating the, and then you weren't doing it to create enemies, but it was creating enemies because of what you experienced. At any point did you say, I've just got to bite the bullet and toe the line a little bit here so I can keep my career?
I think at that point it was the damage was done. And I suppose if I could go back and not have done the work to begin with, I would seriously consider that. But my wife basically begged me not to do the stuff. I guess I just kind of, I've been involved in a lot of academic debates up till that point. But I had always, when I got involved in this debate, I just had never seen so much misinformation out there. And I guess I just convinced myself that if I didn't go and argue those things, nobody would.
Yeah.
And
you're right, by the way.
So anyway, but it's just, anyway,
it takes a lot of courage. And I just, and I'm sure you've had a lot of people tell you this through the years, people who are on your side, people who believe in data and research and facts and deal with the things that you do and not just opinions and partisanship and so forth. I'm sure you've heard that word before, but I think it's very courageous and I just want to say it. So a lot of times when you and I speak, I'll introduce you as the author of, More Guns, Less Crime and Gun Control Myths and this, that, and the other, and, introduce you as a gun rights, expert. And you always remind me, I'm not a gun rights expert or not a gun rights advocate. You are an economist and you are a researcher.
Right.
That's what you do.
Right.
But yet here you are at the NRA and people say, yep, there he is, gun rights advocate John Arlott. So what
look,
what do you
I
say?
would look if the Brady campaign or Brady, organization or any of the other gun control groups asked me to come and speak, I'd speak there too. I'm happy to go wherever people are. It's just
those invitations aren't coming though, are they?
No,
because they know what you're bringing.
No, they're not coming. So I go to universities, I go wherever people, I appear on radio shows. Look, I would love to be on CNN again. I used to be on CNN before. I'd love to be on MSNBC. In fact, to be honest with you, I'd much rather be on those shows than on yours,
Sure.
Just because I wanted, first of all, I find it more interesting to go and be in a hostile environment. And also I think it's more productive of my time to get information out to people. So one of the things that I do differently than a lot of people do is I really try hard to get op-eds and things like that published in kind of mainstream or legacy places. It's gotten much harder over time to do that. There are periods of time where I used to have a regular piece in the Los Angeles Times, or there are periods of time when I must have had like 120 pieces in like the Philadelphia Inquirer and stuff like that. But
what do they say to you? The producers at MSNBC and CNN, the editors at, the Inquirer and all these places you used to be welcome. Your research, your presentations used to be welcomed, and now they won't touch you. What do they say?
Well, MSNBC and CNN just don't call anymore. There were a few.
Have you reached out to any of them who used to book you and say, hey, just so you know, I'm available? Like,
you know who Steve Malzberg is, right?
Yeah, I know the name.
Anyway, his wife used to be a booker at CNN, and she was friendly with her, and she would call and invite me to be on shows. But what happened would be they couldn't get anybody to debate me, and so they would only have me on CNN if they would have multiple people on the other side there, whether it was 2 or 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 or whatever it is.
That is astounding in itself, by the way. But one-on-one, nobody could handle you, so they had to get a whole bunch of people to try to rebut what you're bringing.
Well, anyway, I remember one time she called me up and she said, I was driving into the station And she's apologized. She said, "I'm really sorry, but nobody is willing to debate on the other side." And so she asked, "Is there somebody else that I could recommend to go and do my side of it?" But they didn't have much time. They had like a half hour or so till the hit time. And I had other places do that. I had C-SPAN was one of the few that stood up against that. I was invited to be on Washington Journal, and they had gotten the research director for Bloomberg's Everytown to agree beforehand. And then she had called back and told him that I was going to be, that they'd gotten me to go and present on the other side. And he tried to convince her not to have me. And then when she said, "Well, we've already invited Lott," he said, "Well, he can't do it." And she said, "Well, because I guess he's normally used to the fact that they would just cancel it then if they couldn't get somebody." And she said, "Well, then we'll just have John on by himself." And he said, "Well, I can do it, but I can't do the first half hour. So you need to have Lott on first, and then I will do the second half hour, but we can't be on at the same time." And so anyway, the producer calls me up, and this is very rare. She said, "Well, she was upset with the guy. She knew she was being played, and she said she was hoping that I would mention that he wouldn't be on at the same time on my segment." And so I did the half hour because he wanted to hear what I said and then could respond, but not let me respond to him. And so I mentioned at the end, and then the first caller, I'm sure this was not by accident, the first caller asked him why he wouldn't appear on with me. And he gave some rambling answer that was there. Basically that, I'm not a credible person. And he didn't want to be on at the same time. But it's, anyway, those are the types of interactions I've had with producers.
You'd think that the easiest person to defeat in a debate would be the non-credible person. So they should be flocking to come to you. But you know what? They find out that your credibility is in your statistics. It's in your research. It's in the facts that you bring to the conversation. So I love that they expose themselves as being, kind of afraid of the truth. And that's what you do. So I appreciate all of that history there, John, because like I said, I've never really gotten the specific details about what happened with you and your career academically.
Well, thanks.
But I'm also so excited that you're at the NRA because you have written, and you're doing these seminars on gun myths and FBI statistics. For those who are unfamiliar, give us one or two statistics from your seminar that you're doing. For those who can't be here or are watching back in Ohio, or else they may be, give us one or two of the main points that you're bringing to the people at the seminars.
Wow. They're basically hour-and-a-half talks. But so on the FBI data, I think the FBI interfered in the 2024 election in multiple ways. But the way I focus on is in terms of its impact on the debate about crime. Trump was arguing during the 2024 election that crime was going up. People probably remember the presidential debate between Trump and Kamala Harris, where Trump made that statement and David Muir fact-checked him on the air, saying, "Well, President Trump, that the FBI shows that violent crime is down." So there are two measures of crime. There's the FBI data on crime reported to police, and then there's, from the Bureau of Justice Statistics in the Department of Justice, there's a measure of total crime from their National Crime Victimization Survey, which surveys a truly massive 240,000 people each year. And while the FBI showed an 8% drop during the Biden administration in reported crime, only about 43% of violent crimes are reported to police, only about 30% of property crimes. The measure of total crime reported and unreported from the Bureau of Justice Statistics shows a 59% increase in violent crime during the Biden administration. And that's what Trump was referring to. But the problem is why the FBI interfered in the election was that for a whole year, you had headlines which were saying violent crime is down. People mistakenly think that it's increasing. And the media was referring to the data from 2022 from the FBI. The crime data comes out with a year lag. So the data for 2023 didn't come out until September 2024, and which was after the debate. But what they did was, not only did they put out the data for 2023, they revised the data for 2022, but they hid the revision. What they did was they didn't mention that they had done that in their press release, which is pretty much what 99% of the reporters only look at, the press release there. And even in the report itself, they just had a vague footnote buried in the middle of the piece that said, by the way, we've updated the data for 2022. But no mention that the 2.1% drop that they had originally reported was, they were now saying was a 4.5% increase. But that's what the media
So they just said the data has been revised, not what the revision was. You'd have to go hunt for that to find out what the revision was.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I only found it by accident by going through the data files that were there. And then even when I made a fuss about it and got some attention, and some people in kind of the conservative media began to ask about it, or conservative people. There's a guy named David Mastio, who was a former editor at USA Today. He was then at the Kansas City Star, reached out and asked the FBI, and others did too, and they just refused to give a definitive answer. They just said, we stand by our data. They wouldn't, because if they had come out and said, yeah, we've revised it, then what is it would be a news story, you know, that right before the election.
Yep.
And you know, it just, if you, I mean, it's not, I mean, the New York Times, NPR, Washington Post, everybody for like a year was going out and saying crime is falling based on the 2022 data right before the election. And it was a big issue. The Trump campaign tried to make it a big issue. And so, you know, it's not like the FBI didn't know that their data was being used to go and help the Democrats in the campaign there. And it's not like they didn't know that, you know, we've had all these headlines and that, you know, you'd have to have before the election say, sorry, we were wrong. We made a mistake. It actually was increasing when we told you it was falling.
Yeah. And Dr. Lott, you know, I'm sorry. I want to make sure I get your, for those who are just tuning in. Is there anybody else that called this out, Dr. Lott? Because you have mentioned this to me in the past. We've had a conversation about some of this research and stuff you're doing in the seminar now for other people. I haven't heard anybody else. I haven't heard any, even conservative media, whether it's Fox News or Newsmax or anybody else or Breitbart. I haven't heard anybody frame it that way, that what they did was tantamount to, you know, almost an in-kind contribution to the Kamala Harris campaign, because they literally tried to make Donald Trump look out to be, you know, like he was a liar when David Muir fact-checked him. And nobody else really did this that I'm aware of.
Fox, Greg Gutfeld did it a couple times.
Did he?
Yeah.
But probably in passing. They didn't make it a.
Yeah, he made, on his Gutfeld show, he spent like 2 minutes on it twice.
Yeah, that's passing.
And but you know,
but you're writing articles on it, you know. And let me ask you, do you go on Fox?
No, I haven't been on Fox in years.
They haven't invited you, or have you refused?
Well, I never refused. Somebody asked me to do it. If I refused being on your show,
see that? No, you have not mine. So I'm trying to understand that again. Greg Gutfeld did 2 minutes on it. He's aware of it.
Yeah, well, Greg,
you're writing articles about it. I just can't imagine, why are they not calling you? I can see maybe why your CNN person isn't calling you anymore, but why wouldn't folks on conservative media that are trying to present the facts that the left wants hidden, that the FBI wanted hidden,
Right.
why wouldn't they do that?
Well, what I'll say is Greg messages me every once in a while. You know, if he has some questions about crime by illegal aliens or something like that, he'll reach out to me. He's kind of the one person at Fox who regularly reaches out.
But
to
he
me.
just wants you to give him the information. He doesn't want you to come on.
Well, he credits me on the shows when he uses
okay,
it.
but again,
Yeah,
that's fine. But how about
no? I mean, I love to be on, but Fox, I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know. I was on Fox and Friends maybe about a year and a half ago, but you know, there was a period of time when I'd be on several times a year, and now.
Yeah, because you're, you know, John, the reason I ask about all this is because you're an explainer. You know, you're a professor. That's
right.
what you do, and people need the long form version, and they need follow-ups after you come over a point by a guy like me or a guy like Gutfeld or something like that to really, really bring a hammer these points home. And that's why I love the fact that you're here, by the way, talking to, I don't even know how many people at 6 different seminars, but not enough people get to hear you explain. You know, and unless they read your books and see it in long form, they're not going to really truly understand so much of this critical information that, again, is research. And I remind people it's at crimeresearch.org. That's Dr. Lott's official website.
No, I appreciate being on your show in particular because we do get longer discussions. I mean, even radio's changed a lot over time. You know, 20 years ago or 15 years ago, I'd be on for a half hour on a show. Most places have you on for like 8 minutes now or something like that. And
that's one of my reasons, one of the reasons why I don't have any real regrets about doing the podcast world now, you know, instead of radio, because we can go long form. We can go a half an hour, we can go an hour, we can do whatever. And you could do your entire seminar on a conversation with me, and people will be, I think, gripped by it. I think it's that important. So real quick, because we got about a minute or two left here. Tell me one gun control myth. I know most people are familiar with the book and familiar with some of your writings on it, but for the sake of your presentation you're doing here on gun control myths, give me one.
Well, I mean, I suppose one thing is just comparing the U.S. to other countries in terms of mass public shootings. People don't put it in per capita rates. The media here doesn't cover mass public shootings in other countries. What you find is that of the top 98 countries that we have data for, we're ranked in the like 64th in per capita rates that are there. You know, one of the other pet peeves I have is just the media doesn't cover the diaries and manifestos accurately and say how these guys pick the targets that they do. They are explicit. You would think that would be newsworthy if they explain over and over and over again why they pick targets, that they want to go to gun-free zones. But you will search in vain for media discussions, you know, outside of, you know, shows like yours.
Yeah.
But no, even, you know, they'll go and they'll say the mass shooter talked about other mass shooters in his diary or manifesto, and that's true. But he talked about them because of what he learned, that he learned to go to a gun-free zone. I would think that's newsworthy. Somebody needs to give me a benign explanation for why they don't cover that.
And gun-free zone, of course, the better description of that is, we talk about this, criminal protection zones. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Well, it's a magnet for attacks.
Yep.
They know that they want to kill more people. They know if they kill more people, they get more media attention. So they try to go to a place where they don't have to worry about somebody being able to stop them.
Yeah. It should just be right next to the sign on the door that says gun-free zone. It should just say, we are soft targets. Just put it right there. I mean, that's what the announcement is. Well, Dr. Lott, I know you've got a lot of stuff to do, and hopefully you're selling a ton of books over there at your booth.
Well, I have to thank you. Your producer's guarding my booth right now, so I'm able to come over here. So I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you doing it. Thank you, Dr. Lott.
Thank you very much.
We'll talk to you again soon on the virtual side.
Well, it's nice to meet you face to face.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
All right, John R. Lott Jr., Dr. Lott is he's brilliant. You know, you don't need me to tell you that. But I'm going to tell you that just because the obvious, what he does and the work he's done. You heard he's been a professor at Stanford. He's been a professor at Yale, University of Chicago. I can't remember some of the other ones that he has said. And again, he's not just a gun rights advocate. He is a gun rights advocate, but he is an economist by trade. That's what he is. His doctorate is in economics. And so between economics and obviously research, that's why he runs his website. And I'll put it up there again, crimeresearch.org, just so you can see it. Crimeresearch.org is the website where he presents, and they're almost all in the form of his articles are almost all in the form of academic papers because he cites his sources. Okay, he isn't just throwing opinions out there. He's citing actual factual information and the sources from which he gathers that information, and so that's what makes Dr. Lott's work, I think, worthy of as much platforming as it can get. And sadly, in reality, it's not enough. It's just not enough. He's basically been blackballed by the media, including the so-called conservative media. Now, I'm not going to sit here and bash Fox News every day like a lot of my conservative, like maybe a lot of people here at the NRA at this convention might do. Because Fox News is considered to be, pseudo-conservative and soft conservative and so forth, and people like other sites and other programs better, and that's fine. But it is easily the most popular conservative news source. Fox News, I saw the ratings, I want to say, I don't know, a few weeks ago from the previous quarter ratings period. And like the top 9 cable news, no, it wasn't even cable. I think it was just the top 9 news shows were all Fox News. From, Fox and Friends to Gutfeld to Hannity to Will Cain to, all of them. Okay. And the next one that wasn't Fox News was like NBC. And the next one that was a cable news show was down in 15th, 16th, 17th or something like that, was one of the CNN shows. Point is, everybody watches it. Okay. Whether you agree with what they do and how they do it and how well they do it or not is your opinion. Fine. But everybody watches it. And that's why John Lott needs to be on it. I'm not going to ever expect CNN to let John R. Lott Jr. come on after they have their hands full trying to deal with Scott Jennings, who exposes them every day for the woke, cowardly, leftist views that they share. Scott Jennings pokes holes in all of their flawed theology, or not theology. To them, it is a religion. I'll call it theology. But ideology is what I meant to say. And they have a hard enough time dealing with Scott Jennings. They're not going to bring on Dr. John R. Lott Jr. as a guest. He comes prepared and so filled with so much knowledge, facts about the statistics, facts about what the arguments are. And I get that. But Fox News, you're the hub. Why aren't you putting people like John R. Lott Jr. on a regular basis? Why isn't he on with Harris Faulkner in the middle of the day? Why isn't he on with Hannity at night? Like I said, he's an explainer extraordinaire. He's a tremendous asset if you give him the time to talk. He's not good in super short sound bites. He's a talker and an explainer and a teacher and a professor, and that's what people need to give him. And that's probably why he likes coming on with me, because I give him that, that time to talk, that platform to really espouse upon the specifics. So, all right. So we're off and running. We're 1 hour into the books on day 2 at the NRA, and I'll throw up the graphic once again because why not? Just to let you know exactly what we're doing. If you're wondering why is Bob on a Saturday, because we don't do Saturdays. That's why this is where we are. Live on the air in Houston at the NRA. Voices of the Second Amendment. Media Row is where I am at the convention, their 155th convention. We're throwing this out live on Rumble, which is the hub, again, for chatters. But it's also being seen on YouTube and on Facebook and on X as well. And there's another little look. Yeah, that's just the little graphic they gave to us. So that's where we are. That's the logo. It is, for those who don't really know, this is the second year they've done a media row of sorts. They're trying really hard, the NRA is, to reach out to I talked to several of the executives yesterday in this first day of the conference here on the show. They're trying really hard to reach new voices, not be preaching to the same choir, the same gospel over and over and over again to the same choir. They know that gun rights supporters and Second Amendment supporters, quite frankly, civil rights supporters, because that's what this is. Second Amendment is in the Bill of Rights. It's one of our civil rights. And you can preach to them all day long and it's not going to change anything. They already agree. They want to reach out to more people. So they're reaching out to new media. So as I look up and down this media row, and again, there's going to be 75,000 people here from across the country. And I've met people just yesterday. I've met people from Hawaii, Maryland, Iowa, Pennsylvania, which isn't, which is just as far, I guess, a little further, I guess, from Texas, where we are. I'm just trying to remember, Missouri. They're coming from all over the country, 75,000 people. And that's a lot of people. And there's a lot of live streamers and podcasters in this country. Millions of them, quite literally. There are millions of podcasts out there. Not all of them are about conservative politics, but there are thousands and thousands of those. Not all of them are about gun rights, but there are tons of those. But they chose about 30 shows to invite down here, 30 different booths. And I'm looking up and down this row, and I see Gun Freedom Radio. I see Off the Beaten Path. I see North Country Armory has a show. What's next to me over here? Trent Shirley Show. I can't see all of their names because I can't see this way, but there's 2 rows here. There's about 15 shows in each of these rows, so about 30 total that were invited here. And ours was one of them. So I'm very honored and very privileged to be here because I like to educate, as you know. I like to opine and inform people with everything that I know from my research and so forth. But when you come to a place like this, I'm here just as much to learn as I am to share and to teach and to inform and to educate. And so I'm learning from so many tremendous people so far. And to just today so far now, we have talked to Amanda Suffolk, who is on the NRA Board of Directors, and you just heard from Dr. John R. Lott Jr., who is one of the presenters. Coming up, we're supposed to, in the next minute or two, and it's actually about 10 minutes late, she may be in another conversation, going to be chatting with Peyton Jackson, who is one of the upcoming influencers that we've been talking about. She is a young Black female conservative who is a firebrand, from what I'm told, and is ready to go. So we're going to have her on next, I have been told. And then we also going to talk with Stephen Williford, the hero from the Sutherland Springs shooting in 2017, who actually finally shot and wounded the killer of 26, wounded of 22, who would have kept on killing had he not been taken down. And then a self-inflicted gunshot wound finished him off at Sutherland Springs back in 2017. So Stephen Williford is here at the NRA, and we're going to talk to him too coming up a little bit later on in this hour. So we've got some great guests. Charlie, my partner / co-host, is tracking down some of these people. I'm going to take a short time out here at the top of this hour. Now it's past the top of the hour. I'll give you a line in the sand once again, because that's just a great way to fill the time. And we're going to come right back, hopefully, with Peyton Jackson. Stay here.
Clock in at midnight, vest on, boots laced. Another name on the paper, another hard case. Got a wife back in Lubbock, kids in their Sunday best. I ain't some villain in a movie, I'm a man doing my best. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody saved today. You hold that sign, I hold this line in my hands. While you're chatting the street, I'm the one who stands, yeah. You draw your crowd, I draw the line in the sand. Saw you playing for cameras, shoving phones in my crew. spitting words like traitor, like you know what we go through. When you circle that transport, like it's some kind of game, there's a scared little girl in the backseat, you don't even know her name. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I'll hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands, yeah. You draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Then you shove them into harm's way. You turn a bus into a battlefield. I'm just trying to get them home today. Call me every name you can think of, I'll still show up when it hits the fan. When the dust clears, when fear's near, we'll see who really ran. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I'll hold this line in my hand. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands, yeah. You draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Clock in at midnight, vest on, boots laced. Another name on the paper, another hard case. Got a wife back in Lubbock, kids in their Sunday best. I ain't some villain in a movie, I'm a man doing my best. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands, yeah. You draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Saw you playing for cameras, shoving phones in my crew, spitting words like traitor, like you know what we go through. When you circle that transport, like it's some kind of game, there's a scared little girl in the backseat, you don't even know her name. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I'll hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands, yeah. You draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand.
listeners, about 3,000 per episode.
Okay, so I think we can help you. You can help us.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. Is there contact on you?
Well, I'm going to give you a card.
Okay.
Can I get your
If you
card
take
here?
mine, please. Yes, sir.
And I'll get you a media kit.
That would be even better.
And now we've got some sample of the text and the
Okay.
story and the overview. The ratings are coming in. Okay.
Thank you, Joel.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Very good.
Thank
I
you.
feel like I know you. I think we're connected on social.
Are we?
I think so. Yeah, I think I follow your posts. So I just want to quickly introduce myself.
I'm sorry. I'm playing kind of basically
No,
some
you're
commercials here while I'm
No, you're good.
talking.
I don't want to keep you.
No. I would like to talk to you. Just give me 1 second
Yeah,
while
yeah,
I
of course.
get something else up and on the screen here. We were supposed to have another guest here who had a little bit of a schedule conflict here, so I find myself filling time while I look for the next one.
Maps on the table, coffee gone cold,
There we go. So,
circles and ready,
Okay, you're
stories
Yeah,
you were
correct.
told,
How-
whispers in a stairwell, names you never say, every move recorded, filed and tucked away.
yeah, I do. I mean,
You talk like you're taking out shadows, like it's just checking a box, moving on. But every face you erase in your diary stays burned in the back of your thoughts. You talk like it's easy, like breathing, like the world turns right when they're gone. But you can't wash off what you're dreaming when the night drags you back to the start.
yeah, please do. Yes, love your world. Yeah. Love you to the top.
Heroes for a day, flags on the screen,
Perfect. Follow each other on X.
glory in the briefing, spit shine, sharp smiles, then quiet in the mirror. You flinch every time.
Then it takes you out.
You talk like you're taking out shadows, like it's just checking a box, moving on. But every face you erase in your diary stays burned in the back of your thoughts. You talk like it's easy, like breathing, like the world turns right when they're gone. But you can't wash off what you're dreaming
It looks like you've been
when the night drags you back to the start.
We can get the LY in there.
Who gets the blame?
How are you, sir?
Is it ink on paper or blood on a name? You say it's bigger than you, then stare straight ahead. But the greater good you whisper keeps counting
Oh, you know
your
what?
days.
That website, they got a website. I actually bought this one in person. So I went on the website. I got my
Like it's just checking a box, moving on. But every face you erase in your diary
You know what? I
stays
did it.
burned in the back of your thoughts.
Yeah,
You
my
talk
website.
like it's easy, like breathing, like the world turns right when they're gone. But you can't wash off what you're dreaming when the night drags you back to the start.
There it is. You all right? Would you run back here? Peyton got a little bit mixed up. Jeff was just telling me Peyton got a little bit mixed up.
Boots laced, another name on the paper, another hard case.
That's like Dan
Got a wife back
And
in
Smith.
Lubbock, kids in their Sunday best. I ain't some villain
family,
in a
yeah.
movie. I'm a man doing my best. You can scream in my face and block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting crowd, I draw a line in the sand. Saw you playing for cameras, shoving phones in my crew, spitting words like traitor.
Got an MC if you want. We can kind of start back up and talk to two of us.
When you circle that transport like it's some kind of game, there's a scared little girl in the backseat.
Got a song.
Don't even know her
So who's the 38?
name. You can scream in my
38 there. Is that Facebook?
No, that's eyeballs on. Yeah, it might be Facebook. I don't know.
Yesterday it said. I think it's got to be Facebook. Look at the like button next to it.
Oh yeah. Good point. Oh yeah, there it is. So we're gonna come back on live here and we'll kind of tell people what the story is. So Steven should be here in about 6, 7, 8 minutes, whatever. You gonna write some?
Beard, collar, big beard, glasses.
You say you care about people, then you shove them into harm's way. You turn a bus into a battlefield. I'm just trying to get them home today. Call me every name you can think of, I'll still show up when it hits the fan. When the dust clears, when fear's near, we'll see who really ran. You can scream in my face, you block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody's safe today. You hold that sign, I hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand.
Stuffed up, but you can tell my.
Okay, everybody, we're back live now. An extended break there. We had a little bit of a traffic snafu, not literal traffic, but with respect to our guest who is supposed to be joining us here in this 10 o'clock hour by the name of Peyton Jackson. So Jeff, our organizer, just came by here and told us about the backlog where she is talking to some other folks and in a couple of other areas of the convention. Hopefully going to get here maybe in the 11 o'clock hour, because coming up here in a few, we're going to be talking with a very special guest, a story that not enough people know about. And I had to refresh my memory because it was 9 years ago. Sutherland Springs was in 2017. And the worst mass shooting in the history of the state of Texas. And that includes, Charles Whitman and the clock tower at the University of Texas. So the hero of Sutherland Springs, the reluctant hero.
There he is right there.
Is Stephen Williford, and he's going to be joining us here. It looks like he's on his way over now. Charlie just got back to the table here from playing. I was telling everybody you're kind of playing the utility infielder.
Yes,
role.
I was.
You play every position, and you played Dr. Lott today.
Yeah, I played Dr. Lott for half an hour. So,
which was very nice of you, because we had a great conversation there.
Yep.
So
I'm going to get out of the chair
here.
because Mr.
Stephen?
Williford's here.
Yes, sir. Come on right over here. So, welcome, sir. Whoops. Pleasure to meet you.
Good to meet you,
And Bob, have a seat, please.
Let me ditch this.
So it is, let's pose for a picture real quick. Okay, and let's grab this one right here. And so welcome. I got to tell you, Charlie and I didn't know you and I were, I'm sorry, the two of you were Facebook friends, and he was able to reach out to you because, you are quite an influential figure when it comes to, self-defensive heroes.
Well,
And,
unfortunately,
That's why I before you got over here, I was just describing you as a reluctant hero. You were, you didn't ask for this, but you
I
stepped
did
up
not
at a
ask
time,
for it.
and
Somebody had to do
exactly. And I want to tell that story as much as we can because, again, I was just mentioning it was 9 years ago, 2017, the worst mass shooting in the history of the state of Texas,
and the worst mass shooting in the place of faith in the United States.
Right, that's what it had just passed. I think Charleston and I can't remember what the other one was. But at any rate, it was a Buddhist temple, I think it was. So places of worship or whatever it was, it has now surpassed that. So 26 people were killed, 22 people were wounded.
Yes.
And it would have been a lot worse had you not stepped up and had done what you had done. So
much, and I'm going to tell you, they say 10% of men would do what I do, and what I will tell you is here at this convention, I would say it's more like 70% of us. 70% of the people that come to this convention and conventions like this are the guys and women that would step up and do something like this, that would defend their families, their communities and stuff. I think it's more like 70% in this environment.
You have a unique perspective here that nobody else really can have because you did it, which is my way of saying I don't mean to dispute you in any way, but I feel like you're low. I feel like that number's low. I think it would be a lot higher in this community of people that we have seen, interacted with, and experienced over the last day and a half now. I feel like everybody here would step up if the time came, or just maybe 9 out of 10. Maybe some people would lose their nerve, but the people who are here for a reason.
I would love to think so. And I thought the number was much higher myself until Uvalde happened. And 400 police officers sat outside while children were being shot.
Yeah.
And that really hit me hard. How can you sit outside and do nothing? And are you going to be able to live with yourself the next day? If you haven't thought about what you would do, then you probably won't do anything. It's the people that have worked it out in their mind. And I will tell you right away, when people ask me how I could do what I did, first off, my faith. I'm a Christian. I believe in the promise Jesus Christ gave me.
Amen. God bless.
I believe that when I die, I'm going to see my Creator. And the Bible says itself, fear no man that can take your life, but fear the God that created your very soul. And if that's the standard, you can live a whole lot more bold because I know where I'm going. When I do die, I can live boldly. And in that sense, that's why I say 70% of the people here, as opposed to 90% or something, because, you have trained police officers. Training's great. Everybody should train. But you should train your mind also, not just tactical training, but train your mind and know who you are and have that relationship with your God.
Thank you. That's a fantastic answer. And God has blessed you with courage and calm in the face of a terrible storm, and that is why you are going to go when your time comes boldly. And I love that.
I want to hear
phrasing.
Well done, good and faithful
Amen.
servant.
Amen.
That's
brother.
all I desire.
So what I'd like, Stephen, though, for those who aren't terribly familiar, and probably most of this audience is, but give us the layout of what went down, how it went down. I gave the statistics before. I think he fired off 450 rounds.
At least.
Killed.
That
was the number I read.
They found 15 30 round AR magazines. The the FBI said that it was more like 750 rounds
750. Wow.
because he had a pistol with multiple loaded magazines also. That 450 was just his AR that were in and around the church. He started firing through the windows and the walls. And the church was over 100 years old, had no insulation, no anything that would stop a 5.56 bullet. What's that? Stick built. Yeah, all wood, and there was really nothing that would stop a 5.56. And at first, the people in the church thought it was a drive-by and that he would continue on. But apparently, he worked all the way around three sides of the church, firing into the church, which put everybody under the pews in a defensive. And I didn't ever think about that, but a guy in the military said that is a military tactic. Now they're in defensive mode and they're under pews. And then when he moved in, they were sitting ducks. They were under pews, hiding under pews. And of course, he was shooting through the pews. And, pews 5.56, it just zipped right through the pews.
Yep.
And he was shooting them in the pews. He was going to the noise, the crying babies, and he'd put the pistol to their head and yell, "Shut up," when he pulled the trigger. He was nothing but pure evil.
So remind people or tell people for the first time, those who don't know the story, where were you and how did you come to be in the position you were?
I was actually at my house, relaxing in my bed. I didn't have shoes on. And the reason normally I would have been at my own church.
What time of day, what time of morning was this?
It was 11:15.
11:15.
And I would have been in my own church that would have been about 60 miles away. But I worked for University Hospital in San Antonio as a maintenance plumber. And 1 out of every 8 weeks, because we had 8 plumbers, we would have to work an on-call, meaning we'd have to carry a pager home and stuff. And my on-call was going to start on Monday. And so I wanted to get as much rest as I could before I knew that I was going to get anywhere 20, 30 extra hours of work.
Yeah, understandable,
And so I stayed home, and I don't believe in coincidences at all. So I stayed home because of that on-call. And when my daughter heard the shooting, she made me aware of it. And I grabbed a rifle out of my safe.
Your daughter called you from a cell phone?
No, she was.
How did she make you aware? How did she become aware?
She was getting engaged to be married, and her apartment lease had run out. And rather than signing another lease for an apartment, she moved back home to live with us until she got married.
Right.
So she could move directly in with her husband with no strings attached.
Okay.
So she was living with us. And if you're going to live with me for any length of time, rent-free, you're going to do chores. And that morning she was up cleaning the house.
Okay.
And she heard the shots.
How far is your home from the church?
From the front door of my house to the front door of the church is about 100 yards.
Okay.
And if you see this much fat running down the road, something serious is happening, especially barefooted. I didn't put shoes on. If you see that much fat running down the road, run and fun don't go together for me. I don't run for fun. Something serious is going on. And you better either get your feet moving away or run with me, one or the other, but your feet better be moving.
I have to ask, just out of sheer curiosity, you're 100 yards away from a church, but you drive an hour to your church, right?
Yes. And, I don't believe necessarily in the name over the church. It really shouldn't matter. However, I was raised in the Church of Christ, and that was a Baptist church. Now, what I can say about that is my kids went to Awanas at that church. And for 6 years before this happened, I actually was the official Santa Claus delivering toys around Wilson County, for that church, which I still do that today. I ride my Harley and deliver toys around Wilson County.
Santa on the Harley.
Yeah.
Please tell me you call it Rudolph.
No, it's actually black and orange.
Okay.
So a lot of people call it my jack-o'-lantern, but whatever, you know. But it's Harley orange and flat black. So
Okay.
they kind of, it looks more like a jack-o'-lantern than it does a Christmas thing, but that's okay. That's cool.
That's all right.
And the kids this past year, we delivered to 287 kids that would not have had a Christmas. And I've done that since 6 years before the shooting with the church.
Wow.
So even though I did not go to that church, I wasn't a member.
You had to know the people from the community there.
Well, I'm fourth generation in that
Yeah.
community.
Okay, so
And my great-grandfather used to play Santa Claus and deliver toys in that community.
you kept that tradition alive.
So that tradition is still alive with me.
So I steered you a little bit away from what's going on that morning. So you said your daughter heard it and told you. And so you leapt up out of the bed.
I ran to
Bare
my
feet?
safe with no shoes on. People say, I can't believe you didn't put shoes on. I say, you're lucky I had pants on. They call me the barefoot defender. The pantsless defender would be a little creepy. But I ran to my safe, and when I ran to my safe, my daughter actually ran outside, got in her car, and drove to find out what was going on. And I called my wife, and I knew she was working on my other daughter's house. My other daughter and her husband, my other daughter was pregnant at the time with my first grandbaby. And we were building their house ourselves. And we were on a timeline because they were living with us. And when they had to be, they wanted to be in their new house. So my wife was taping and floating walls at their house that morning. And I called her and said, stay where you're at. And she said, what's going on? She could hear the panic. I said, someone's shooting up the Baptist church. And she said, don't go over there. And I hung up. And she said, I knew you were going over there. and I grabbed a rifle out of the safe.
What'd you grab? What kind?
I built my own AR-15. I built it for competition, and I did everything that you're not supposed to do. They always tell you, whatever you do, don't customize or don't, if you're going to use something for defense. I built my AR-15 out of a Spikes Tactical Lower Receiver, a Rock River two-stage varminter trigger in it.
Charlie, he's speaking your language, isn't he?
I had a chrome line, chrome molly
it.
Wilson barrel in it. I built the rifle for competition, and I competed with that rifle. And when my safe door swung open out of everything, and even the dust flap, the dust cover for the chamber, when you chamber it, it flips open and it said zombie killer on it. It was everything that was politically incorrect to have,
But exactly what you needed.
But
you were about to kill an evil zombie.
That rifle was like my right arm. That rifle was absolutely, I competed with it. It had an EOTech on it. EOTech, and maybe I shouldn't talk about EOTech, but it is the quickest sight onto a target. And so it was set up for me competition. And when you say what kind of rifle, well, there's a lot of manufacturers had MagTech furniture on it, there was a lot of manufacturers represented on that rifle, and everything that the ATF normally wouldn't want to see, However, they thought it was pretty cool, because the ATF officer on the scene said, what kind of rifle did you use? And I said, oh, this is going to hurt. I really was not wanting to even speak to the ATF at all.
I don't blame you.
I think it should be abolished, but okay, and I started telling him, and he said, cool. And I'm like, we're good?
Well, considering you just stopped a mass shooting in progress, yeah, we're good.
And I ran across the street, and as I ran across the street, I yelled out, inside the church, he heard me yell. He just shot Julie Workman through the breast under the pew. And then he turned the rifle and he bounced one off the concrete into her leg. And then he turned the rifle to the pew in front of her and shot Chris Workman in the back, instantly paralyzing Chris from the waist down. And then he pulled his pistol.
If I may, I want to get a visual image here. So where is that, up in the front of the church, those pews, back of the church, and where are you standing when all that's happening?
I was still running across the street.
Oh, okay. So you weren't, I thought
yelled.
you were describing what you saw.
No.
Okay.
No.
So
what
so
happened?
what you have
is-
found out where he was when you were, okay. So how
Yes.
far apart were you when he was shooting Chris Workman, for example?
At this point, I'm probably 60 yards away.
Okay. So you're still running barefoot,
I'm still
full
running
sprint.
barefoot, full sprint,
Okay.
yelled out. And inside the church, he had just shot Chris Workman and pulled his pistol and was pointing his pistol at Chris Workman's face. And Chris said, I was ready to meet Jesus. And he said, I heard you yell.
What'd you yell?
Huh?
What'd you yell?
Are you ready for something deep and philosophical?
Yes, sir.
I yelled, hey. But I yelled, hey, and they said on the video, the church was doing a video. They weren't live streaming, but they were doing a video. They asked me if I wanted to see the video, and I'm like, oh, God, no. But they say that the moment I yelled, hey, he startled.
Got his attention.
He startled. He dropped his rifle in the church and came out of the church shooting at me with a pistol. I'm going to tell you, God commanded him at that moment. Why would he have dropped his rifle?
Yeah.
And he came out of the church with class 3A body armor and a ballistic bulletproof helmet. And he started shooting at me. And I hope you don't think it's cowardice, but I ran behind a Dodge truck. Something about a 6.4 liter V8 Hemi was really comforting in a moment. I'm not even a Dodge fan, but I ran behind a Dodge truck.
We were just talking about that this morning. We're not fans either, but
Well, I have
any port in a storm, right?
At the time, I had an F-150 and a Ford Mustang. I'm a Ford fanboy,
And I'm an F-150 driver too, good sir.
and
I don't want to talk about it.
and my neighbor, the neighbor that I ran over in his Dodge truck got hit. Him and I have had this fun thing running ever since. I've always said Dodges are worthless, and it was his Dodge Challenger that the windshield got shattered. I had to call up. I had to call him up later. His name's Fred, and I had to say, Fred, I am really sorry. He's like, dude, you can borrow my truck anytime you want after that. And I said, no, that's not what I'm sorry about. I don't need to borrow a Dodge, you know. I said, I've always said that they're worthless. I said, I figured out they stop bullets really well.
There is some worth to it after all.
And yeah, I mean, you know, you
That's
got to find a use for something.
That's right.
And they do stop
Like
bullets.
I said, any
you know?
port in a storm, all right? You know, you got
It's,
to.
screw you, man.
All right. So you duck behind that Dodge. It takes the bullets. Take us from
I
there.
exchanged fire with him. I hit him in the left chest, stopped by the body armor. I hit him in
From
the
behind the truck, were you positioned
from
behind
the truck over the hood. I hit him in the left chest, stopped by the body armor. I hit him.
How many
in
yards are we talking about?
20.
20 at that point. Okay.
And of course, he's moving and shooting at me. You know, people say, why didn't you shoot him in the face? And I'm like, okay, next time you're in a shootout like this, let me know how that works out for you. And well, no, I was definitely aiming. And I shot on a church pistol team. We called ourselves the Sinners, and it was a 5-man team. And one of our sinners was actually a former Army Ranger and a San Antonio police officer. And in between competitions, he would teach me how things he knew. And for 3 weeks straight, we worked on shooting around body armor. And this was years before this ever happened. And what he told me at the time is that if ever confronted with body armor, hit them in the armor, they'll feel it. He said, look for your opportunity, one in the side, one in the hips, and one in the legs. He said, the one in the side will kill him. The one in the hips, we call an anchor shot, and it will stop him right where he is. And the one in the legs will slow him down. Well, out of the 3 shots, I hit him in the side between the plates. I hit him high in the legs. He got in his vehicle, slammed the door. When I hit him in the chest and then the abdomen again, there were contusions there. The coroner's report said he had a contusion in his left chest. He had a contusion in his abdomen, exactly where that EO tech was pointed at.
So
And then he ran for his vehicle, which was parked in the middle of the street with the driver's side door open, engine running. When he turned to his side, I hit him in the side and I hit him in the legs. He got in the vehicle, he slammed the door. He put 2 more shots through the side window. I busted one across his forehead right underneath the rim of the helmet. He accelerated, turned the corner, and now he was in fleeing mode. And now that he was being shot at and hit, he wanted out. And I'm like, you don't get to decide when it's over. And I ran out in the middle of the street, and he was, by the time I get in the middle of the street, he was 150 yards away and fleeing. I put one through the back windshield. It went through the driver's side seat, and it hit him right at the left shoulder blade. And he topped the hill and out of sight. And I'm standing in the middle of the street saying it can't end this way. And I looked over, and there was another Dodge pickup pulled over at the stop sign. And I didn't even know the guy. And I ran over and tapped on the window. His name turned out to be Johnny Langendorf. Tall, thin Texan with a white Western hat, a turkey feather sticking out of the band, toothpick hanging out of his mouth. I couldn't ask for more Texas representative. He has a Longhorn skull tattooed in the middle of his neck, and the horns go up underneath his ears.
that's a diehard right there.
And I tapped on the window and said, that guy just shot up the Baptist church and we have to stop him. And the next thing I heard were the locks come open. Any sane human being in this world would have just jammed on the gas and left me there. He had just witnessed the thing. He was on the phone to 911. He was talking to dispatch. You know, any sane person would have just jammed on the gas, drove, but we're talking about Texas. We're not known for sanity. A little bit of sense of courage and duty and stuff. And the next thing I heard were the locks come open. I crawled up in the cab of the truck and we were off running. And now he's on the phone giving each time we went over a crossroads, telling them where we were. And we still couldn't even see him at this point. We were just chasing the wind. But a little bit later, we came up over a hill and around a curve and I saw it. It's like, that's him, gray SUV. It was a Ford Escape. I said, gray SUV, back windshield shot out. That's him, that's him. And I looked and turned to Johnny and I said, if you catch him, you're going to have to put him off the road. And Johnny said, looked at me, and the first words he said to me at all, he was talking on 911. He didn't say anything to me up until this point. He said, yeah, I already figured that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, who am I riding with? And Johnny's probably thinking, man, I always wanted to try a pit maneuver.
Well, now Johnny's a Texan with the Longhorn on his neck and everything else. I'm got to believe he was armed too, right?
No, he was not.
Wow.
He was not.
An unarmed Texan? Is that against state law?
Well, we won't talk about that, but yeah, he was unarmed.
Okay.
You know.
So, but he was ready to use his vehicle as a weapon.
Well, and as I'm running down the road, I checked my magazine. I got one in the top of the magazine and one in the chamber. I got 2 rounds left. And I told Johnny, because he's on the phone with dispatch, I said, tell him, hurry. I got 2 rounds left. He's still got on Class 3 body armor. I'm thinking this is getting interesting real quick. You know, and finally he pulled over the side of the road with a curve sign in front of him in the ditch. And Johnny pulled up and with his front bumper, even with the guy's rear bumper, and stopped in the road. And now I put the rifle out the window, the passenger side window, and opened the door with my left hand, shoved it out. I was going to step out behind the door and use it for a shield and re-engage him. but before my foot hit the pavement, he accelerated, took out the sign, ran up the road a little farther, about 3/4 of a mile farther. And this time he swerved hard off to the left out into a field and stopped in the middle of a field. And Johnny pulled up and stopped there. And I got out and put my rifle over the hood of a second Dodge pickup the same day. And I started yelling, get out, and some rude obscenities that went with that. And I hope God will forgive me for that, but I was really angry. And Johnny got out videoing, live streaming to Facebook. I kid you not.
I did not know this until just now.
He got out live streaming to Facebook. I told him stay down below the dash. And of course, he's a millennial, and you know what's a millennial can do? Gotta get the camera play. And the police took his phone for evidence because he did that. They said, "All right, who's been live streaming?" And they took his phone for evidence. And I didn't have a phone; I dropped it in the house. And so I'm sitting there. They put me on the guardrail for the curve and stuff, and I'm sitting there and I'm shaking at this point. Adrenaline's
Well,
gone.
that's what I really want to ask you about here, because you're sitting here in Houston in an air-conditioned convention center, 9 years removed, and you're telling the story with a, calmness and with a little bit of flair too. That obviously wasn't your mindset when you were where you were. Can you try to describe what you were feeling, how fast your heart was racing, maybe how much your hands were shaking at that moment? Because that was a different situation.
At this point, adrenaline's gone. And when adrenaline like that leaves your body, you start shaking. Your mouth is dry and pasty. And the police officers gave me like 5 different bottles of water. They just kept giving me bottles of water. I couldn't get enough hydration. And my feet started, it was 90 degrees that day, and my feet started getting hot. I'm barefoot. And the adrenaline. And I know if you do one of these prepaid legal, like Right to Bear, they're right over here, and a U.S. Law Shield or whatever, they tell you lawyer up and shut up. I got diarrhea of the mouth. They wanted my statements, and I stupidly just kept giving them statements and stuff. And one officer walked by, and I said, "Excuse me, I could see my wife parked 200 yards up the road where the roadblock was. And there's no one in this world I wanted to speak to more than my own wife." And the officer walked past. I said, "Excuse me, officer, can I call my wife?" He said, "Sure, go ahead." And he kept walking. I said, "No, can I use your phone?" And he said, "You don't have a phone on you?" And I looked down at my feet. I said, I don't have shoes on. The phone wasn't my priority.
That's right.
Shoes before phone always, but no. And so he handed me his phone, and I called my wife. And it was the most emotional call that you can imagine. And she answered the phone. Of course, it wasn't my number, and she answered it. And I told her, "Look, it's me, and I'm okay." And she said, "I can see you walking around down there." She said, "I know you're physically okay, but how are you?" And I said, "I think I just killed a man." And believe it or not, that's not what you want. I mean, as bad as he needed killing, I didn't want to be the one that did. And I said, "I think I just killed a man." And she said, "You did what you had to do." I said, "But it still hurts. I didn't want it." And then she gave me exactly what I needed. She said, "You did what you had to do, and I'm proud of you." I don't give a damn. I'm sorry about the line. I don't care. I don't care what anybody else in this world thought of me at that moment. I really didn't care. But now I've been married 37 years to that beautiful soul. And that's all I cared about, is what she thought of me. And at this point, I didn't know whether I was going to jail or anything else. But I could handle any of it as long as what she thought of me mattered.
Well, Stephen, two things. I want to back up for a moment because I think we kind of skipped over the part in between. You got behind another Dodge and squared up with that car, and then you kind of leapt over to talking to the, sitting on the guardrail there and your adrenaline having worn off. So we didn't really talk about the actual end of that. So
The actual what?
the actual end, where he because when he came to rest in that field, and you guys stopped and you got out behind the Dodge again, and we're pointing at him. How did it end?
Well, I sat there again for about 7 minutes. By police own estimate, between 5 and 7 minutes. And then I heard an officer off to my left said, "Driver, get out of the vehicle with your hands up." And he repeated it again on a PA system. And I looked up there and I could see him with a microphone in his left hand and a pistol in his right, behind his door, about 50 yards from me. He keyed the mic once again and he said, "Driver, get out of the vehicle with your hands up." And that's when I laid the rifle on the hood of the truck and I came back to the back because I don't know what he knows. I don't know anything. I know he sees me down there with a rifle. And so I come to the back of the truck with my hands up and stuff. And he made eye contact with me. He keyed the mic and said, "Not you."
I was going to say, you weren't the driver anyway.
Well,
you were the passenger in the car that you were
But again, you have to make sure he knows what's going on here because
Sure.
I don't want to get shot by the cops.
Right.
And so I went over and I picked up the rifle and held it again at the truck and stuff until other officers came. And when they started pulling out guns and stuff, ARs and stuff, then I pulled the rifle off the hood, put it on the toolbox of Johnny's truck, and now I'm trying to hold on to the bed and keep my feet in the shade. And it took them probably 30 minutes, and I'm trying to figure out why they didn't approach the vehicle.
Yeah.
Whether they were waiting for him to bleed to death, which I don't care. But I'm the only one down there 50 yards from him, and I'm curious what's going on. I still don't know what's happening. And so I decided I was going to run back to the police line. And when I started to run, they were like, no, stay where you're at. We'll bring up a police cruiser and let you use it for cover to get back to us. Because nobody knew what the shape of the murderer was in at that point.
Right.
And so they brought a police cruiser and they brought it back and then backed it back up at the road where they were. And that's when they set me down on the guardrail and started getting my statement and stuff. And again, I should have told them I am willing to cooperate fully. However, I need a lawyer here.
And medical.
Amen.
I think would be.
I didn't need medical attention, but I did after I hung up. I asked my wife. I said, "Do you have any shoes?" Because my feet were getting hot. And she said, "Well, I have my Crocs. Of course, they're not going to fit my feet, but anything at this point. I wanted my feet off the pavement." And she said, "They won't let me down there." And I asked the officer, I said, "Can I go get my wife's Crocs? They won't let her down here." And he said, "No, you need to stay here." And I said, "But my feet are hot." And he opened up the back of his police cruiser and said, "You can sit back in the back of my police cruiser." And I'm like, "No, I'm good." Those doors, when they're shut on the back, they don't have handles to open on the inside. And I did not want to sit in the back of his truck. So I just think I'm cool, but I didn't find out until later. The police say he turned the pistol on himself. I never heard that shot.
That's what I was trying to get at when I said, "How did it end?" Because you're positioned behind the Dodge. You're yelling at him, "Get out!" Then you hear the police coming up, and they're yelling at him to get out. And I'm wondering at what point because we know in the aftermath that he took his own life, finished himself off after what you started,
He
basically.
did. Now,
but you didn't hear that shot. This is what I wanted to get to.
I didn't hear the shot. I personally, he was hit between the plates and the side, and every hunter knows that's a long shot. I'm telling you, he was coughing up pieces of his lung, and he was living on solid adrenaline at that moment.
Dead man walking.
And I think that he understood that, you know, and the police say he turned the pistol up underneath the helmet and shot himself.
Okay.
And I'm cool with that. So I don't care.
That's a good outcome right there.
I don't have to tell anybody that I killed anybody. And honestly, again, you want to know what was going through my head and stuff. And that does matter. As a Christian, all this matters, you know. And when I got back to the car with my wife again, and my wife is one of the wisest people that I've ever met. She graduated with a 4.0 GPA from Harding Christian University. I married up in life, and I know it.
God bless you for that.
And when I was a young man, I studying the Bible, I read that Solomon, when he asked God and he prayed for wisdom. And what's Solomon in the Bible known for? He's the wisest man of the time. People came to him, and because he asked God for wisdom instead of riches or power, God granted that. And I thought, well, cool. If I ask for wisdom, maybe God will grant me with wisdom. And I always wanted to be Solomon. I wanted to be the wise man that people came to talk about and work out, and that I have wise advice and stuff. And I found out that day that God didn't grant me the wisdom. He gave it to my wife. Because when I sat in the car with her, I was just distraught. And she said, "What are you thinking?" And my mind went back to David and Goliath. And I was already connecting myself with David and Goliath. And I told her I never wanted to be David. I wanted to be Solomon. I wanted to be known for my wisdom. Never wanted to be David. David was prevented from building God's temple because he had blood on his hands, and he was known as God's warrior king. And I said, never wanted to be David. I wanted to be Solomon. And my wife looked at me and proved that she had Solomon's wisdom. Because she looked at me and she said, just remember in the Bible, God says of David, he is a man after my own heart. She said, if God asked you to be David, why would you settle with being Solomon? She said, be who God created you to be. And if he needs you to be David, be David.
God gave you that slingshot in your gun safe.
And he trained me how to use it.
He gave you that slingshot and that rock and told you go use it and go slay this.
And God even made it such that I only had 8 rounds. And I was barefoot. And just like he did with the Israelites, he took most of them away and separated them out. That way they would have so few numbers they couldn't claim the victory for their own. They would know it would be through God's power. He sent me across with no shoes on and 8 rounds to face my Goliath that had multiple rounds, body armor, and every reason to have been victorious. God made it so that I could not claim it for myself. Because I was so underarmed and unprepared that it had to be through God's power that this happened. Now, I don't know if that's what you guys want, but that is my testimony.
I want what was in your head, Stephen, and that's incredible. I want to ask you something else now, too, though. I've been so enraptured by her story here. I'm forgetting to let our viewers know who we're talking about here. Talking to here. There he is, Stephen Williford, Sutherland Springs hero, reluctant hero, but a hero. So, how many times since then have you thought to yourself, thank God he died? Because had he lived, from your side shot, if it hadn't exploded his lung and if he hadn't done what he did under the helmet or whatever, we got a trial. And now you're going to have to stand up there and testify to everything the way it happened, the way you are right now. And 9 years removed, you seem pretty comfortable talking about it. But if you'd have had to be on a stand a year later, how would that have been for you?
And even worse than that, the families that survived would have had to been going through the same trial.
Yes, sir. They all would have.
My whole heart is for the families that survived. And
do you know how many people you saved? How many people were in that church? What's the total number of people in the church?
Total number were 49 people that day.
49 and
26 died, 20 more were wounded.
Yeah, 20. I read 22. 20?
Or 22.
22 is what I read.
Three people walked out of the church without a bullet.
Okay. So you saved, then I dare say you saved 25 people's lives. The 22 that were wounded, he would have finished off if you don't come running and hey, and the 3 that were living would have gotten it next. And you come in with your hey, and as you come running, and that makes him startle, drop the rifle, and run outside to confront whose hey is coming at him. Those 25 people would be dead were it not for you. You've considered that over the last 9 years, right?
I don't know. When people ask me how many people I saved, I will honestly tell them not near enough.
Well,
not near enough.
You weren't. God gave you David's powers. He didn't give you the Flash's powers. You couldn't have sprinted there any faster than you ran. You saved as many as you could. But I mean, literally, you saved at least about. I mean, if he fired off, you said at the beginning of our conversation, 750 rounds, probably 450 from that AR that was just that they were able to count. But with his other weapons, okay, he wasn't going to stop until everybody. You said he shot somebody in the back and then came up and pointed at his face next. So the people that he shot that were still alive, you don't think he's coming around to finish everybody before he leaves that building. So there's 25 people.
And here's another thing. So David Colbath was shot 8 times. The last shot, he was laying on his stomach in the middle of the aisle, laying on his stomach, and the murderer came up, put his boot in the middle of David's back, put muzzle down between his shoulder blades, pulled the trigger. That bullet went around David's spine. It went between his lungs. It clipped the sac around his heart and lodged between his ribs and his outer skin underneath his left arm. I'm going to tell you, God didn't want David Colbath dead. There's no reason he should be alive.
He had been hit
today.
8 times before that?
No, that was the 8th shot.
Okay,
he
so
was
still
shot 7 times before that.
Where did those?
Well, it's funny because a couple of years later, we ride Harleys, and David used to ride a Harley, and we were on a ride. We were heading for Brenham, Texas to get some Bluebell ice cream, and I fuel up my Harley and I ride like 80 miles per hour until I'm looking for another gas station, and I'm cruising along. All once David comes running up behind me or beside me and says, pull over. And I pulled over thinking, what's going on? He said, you don't understand. He says, I have a hole in my buttocks about this big by this deep. He said, I got shot 3 times in the butt. And I said, wait, David, you go that big by that deep? He said, yeah. He said, I can't ride like that anymore. I said, one more time, that big by that deep? He said, yeah. And he's looking at me puzzled. I said, dude, you got the perfect place for a concealed pistol now. He said, he said,
tuck it in your.
Yeah. He said, that ain't right.
No,
and then he looked at me and said, but it's funny.
It ain't right, but it is funny. He was right about that.
You got to squeeze those lemons,
Yeah.
But
So-
yeah, he got shot 8 times. Zach Poston, he was 17 years old. He was a senior in high school. He was signed up to go into the Marines. And just before the shooter had turned on him, he shot Rylan and Rihanna's mother and 2 of their siblings and killed her. She crawled on top of Rihanna. And Rihanna was 5 years old and she crawled out from underneath her mother. And Zach took his foot and shoved her back under the pew. And that got the attention of the murderer. And the murderer shot Zach Poston 7 times. And then Zach Poston's grandmother crawled on top of him, sacrificing her own life and saved Zach Poston. Now, Zach is a hero for shoving Rihanna back underneath the pew. And Rihanna got the glasses shot off her face.
Oh my God.
And lost 2 of her siblings, and one of her other, Rylan Ward, got shot 5 times. He was 5 years old. I guess Rihanna was 7. But her younger brother got shot 5 times, and he survived. And all that happened to Rihanna was her glasses got shot off her face.
He saved her life.
And Zach Poston saved her life.
Yes, he did.
And in return for his heroism, he got shot 7 times. And his grandmother crawled on top of him. And what a warrior. What a warrior. His grandmother says, "Not my grandson." And she showed up in the presence of God being that warrior.
Stephen, I want to wrap up our conversation and thank you for telling this incredible story with such, I know is it hard for you? Is it hard for you to do what you're doing right now?
Yes and no. It's therapeutic.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. I was going to say that it sounds like it's very difficult.
It is. It is even 9 years,
again and again.
9 years removed, but it's therapeutic. Because if I can make one person out there say, you know what, if it happens, I'm going to be that guy.
You literally just made the point I wanted to ask you to close our chat, because I know you got somewhere else to be. But we're here at the NRA. We're here talking about self-defense, and we are the gun control people who don't think we should have guns in this country are always saying that the good guy with a gun theory is a myth. The good guy with a gun is what everybody says, and that's just bullshit. All we got to do is send a social worker out there to de-escalate a situation or calm these people down. Good guys with a gun. You're the living embodiment of a good guy. You weren't even on the scene. You sprinted to the scene in that circumstance you just described for us. What message do you have for anybody about that aspect of this, about why all these people are here learning, educating, maybe buying a self-defensive weapon so that they can be, when needed to be, a Stephen Williford? You just said it a second ago. If you can inspire people to say, I will stand up and protect somebody and be the good guy with a gun, what do you want to say to them?
Here's the thing, because I was attacked by a very liberal woman one time, said, let me tell you what happened in Sutherland Springs. And I'm really wanting to hear her view of what happened in Sutherland Springs.
She didn't know who you were.
Oh, she did
Oh.
at that point. She said a bad guy with a gun came in, started murdering people in the church. And she said, the NRA said the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. She said a bad guy came in, started murdering people in the church, and another bad guy ran across the street and shot him.
What?
And what
She said that to you.
She said
called
that
you
to
a
me.
bad guy.
And what I told her, I said, I can't change your view. I said, and honestly, I really hope that you're never in that situation. I said, but if you are ever in that position, find someone like myself to stand behind, because I don't care about your political view. I don't care about your race, your gender, or what you think your gender is, or anything else in your life. I will stand between evil and innocence every day. and I'll put my life on the line for you, and I don't care who you are. I don't even know you. And she said, well, I never risk my life for you. And I said, I don't want you to. Just don't stand in my way. When it hits the fan, stand behind me. And you can discuss it later, whether my life was worth saving yours or not.
I want to retract my introduction of you. When I called you the reluctant hero, you're not a reluctant hero. You are an absolutely willing hero. That's okay. That's okay. I know you got to go. You are a willing hero. God bless you, Stephen. Thank you. Thank you so much. We kept Stephen longer than he was supposed to be. He's probably got another interview to go to right now. Holy cow. Charlie, come sit down where he was. Oh yeah. Okay. Tell you what. Let me put a little commercial music on here. Hold on 1 second. We'll get it done. Everybody, if you can chill for just a minute with one more playing of Line in the Sand. I gotta get some new hold music, but that's what I got for you.
Vest on, boots laced. Another name on the paper, another hard case. Got a wife back in Lubbock, kids in their Sunday best. I ain't some villain in a movie, I'm a man doing my best. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody saved today. You hold that sign, I hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw the line in the sand. Saw you playing for cameras, shoving phones in my crew, spitting words like traitor, like you know what we go through. When you circle that transport like it's some kind of game, there's a scared little girl in the backseat, you don't even know her name. You can scream in my face, you can block my way, but this badge on my chest means somebody saved today. You hold that sign, I hold this line in my hands. While you're chanting the street, I'm the one who stands. Yeah, you draw your crowd, I draw a line in the sand. You say you care about people, then you shove them into harm's way. You turn a bus into a battlefield. I'm just trying to get them home today. Call me every.
All right, I hope you don't mind my interrupting the song that you've heard now, I think 2 or 3 times today, just while we've been trying to fill some spots here during our downtime in between guests. But I want to take a few minutes with Charlie here. Stephen Williford, the hero of Sutherland Springs from 2017, just told the most incredibly gripping story, one of the most that I've ever been a part of with respect to an interview. And I've talked to some people who have done some pretty remarkable things. That was incredible. And the only reason it happened is because this guy found him on Facebook and became a friend. How long have you been a friend with?
Probably 4 or 5 years, ever since it happened.
So you just put in just like everybody does, puts in a friend request.
He was a mutual friend of another friend of mine. So I figured I'd shoot a friend request, and he accepted it. And
okay. And then yesterday, you just found him?
I just decided to send him a Facebook message like, hey, are you going to be, because I remembered he lived in Texas, and hey, are you going to be at the NRA convention? And he said, I'm here. And so I was, asked him what time he'd be available, and made it happen.
That's amazing.
Luck of the draw, that's all.
Well, you know what? Yeah, but it was luck, but it was also, perseverance.
Yeah.
Because you did. You put in the time and you kept reaching out and confirm, or you hear, you sure you're going to do this thing, and you become a pain in the ass enough to somebody, they're going to give you what they give you what you want, right? And
Try.
and I'm not saying it took all of that, but geez, that was such a phenomenal
That was
conversation.
excellent.
I just wanted to let you talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, no,
you were
I
kind
mean,
of chiming in a little bit from the other side of the camera. Got to remember, next time
yes,
we got to have 3 mics. And we got to have 2 cameras.
right,
One point in each direction. Here,
right,
so
exactly. Maybe set up a chair on the other side of the table.
Exactly. Which is
some of the other people here.
Right. It's kind of fun. It's weird to not weird. It's interesting to see all the different shows. Like I said, about 30 different podcasts or live stream shows. The way they have it set up. Some have 2 cams. Some have incredible. I don't even know what you call that. It's not even like a neon. It's like a neon projection sign, which is just incredible.
It looks like a fan. It looks like a fan when it's stopped, and it's got a bunch of LEDs on it,
and it generates images on
as it spins.
Backdrops. Anyway, point being, there's a lot of different ways to do this. So next time around, we'll make sure we can do that.
Right.
But having said that, you were chiming in a little bit, and I'm sure you would have liked to have chimed in more. So
that's all right.
Give me your feedback about what you just heard, because you had a couple of things to say.
Aside from the actual shooting aspect of it, there was a little bit of a relationship there. Going back to my story from yesterday, what happened and being in that situation, and he nailed every part of it as far as what the adrenaline feeling and the shaking that happens afterwards, and I don't know me from the other side of the table when he was talking about shooting back from behind the one pickup truck, but my my experience and my education on that and why it's so important to train is when you're in a situation like that, especially when you're drawing at that first instance. I made the comment, I said, you don't aim. And I didn't mean that, you don't aim like, don't aim, just start blasting. What I meant was that I don't remember aiming in that instance, and that's why the training is so important, because in that environment, when you have that excitement and you're doing things in split second order, yet that muscle memory, that training is absolutely paramount to whether you're going to be successful or not. That kid that stopped the mass shooting inside the mall, he shot that guy. I think he hit him 7 out of 9 shots from 40 yards away.
That was incredible.
Eli. I can't remember his last name. Matter of fact, I don't think we learned his name until quite a bit later because he didn't want to be the attention. And you don't do that. You don't walk into a gun store, buy a firearm, and do that the next day. That takes time. And repeat and repeat and repeat. And that's it's one of the reasons, like I said yesterday, why I pushed the permit over the constitutional carry. Yes, it's our right. The Second Amendment, that's the permit right there. But if something pushes people to train that maybe they normally wouldn't have, then by all means.
I'm just wondering how many trophies that guy has in his house
for competition.
Because he said, he built that rifle particularly for competition shooting. And then he said, somebody said to him, why didn't you shoot him in the face? And he said, you don't know anything about shooting, do you?
Right.
And the reason, what I thought he was going to say is you always shoot center mass, even if he's body armor, because that's your best chance of hitting him. I mean, that's a very small area. Right. Look at your body. I mean, if
shoot for the biggest spot.
What do you say, 20 yards away or so at that point in time? Not that far, but the biggest spot. So he said, that's why I don't aim for the face. Right. But then he said, shoot him in the side, shoot him in the hip, and shoot him in the leg, which is damn pinpoint about as much as the head is. So, and he got him. Right. And he got him between the plates, and he got him in the leg twice in the leg.
And I never heard that before, and I guarantee you that's locked up now.
Which is why I'm thinking of that is great information. Absolutely about where to go. If you spin somebody sideways, that's where you want to get him. But the fact that he did it means he must be one hell of a target shooter. Right. Because it's competition. You know what I mean? I mean, because he didn't say, I just wanted to go center mass. I was pinpointing, but not the head. Right. So it's pretty remarkable.
And that's another thing I was thinking about. I wanted to ask him what that rifle was sighted in at, or, zeroed at, because 100-yard, 50, 75, and 100 yards are all pretty standard sight-ins for an AR-15. And mine are all pretty much sighted in at 50 or 75, because when you have a 50-yard zero, that bullet is still going in an upward trajectory. So if you sight in at 50 yards, then at a zero, zero aim point at 50 yards, at 250 yards, you will also be at a zero aim point as it starts to arc back down. And another common one is a 100, 300. And so when he said 100 yards, the first question that I was thinking in my head was like, well, hell, you could have started shooting at him from the front door of the house.
But except he wasn't out.
But
he was still in the church at that point. The only reason he came out is because he ran in here and
he yelled. Exactly.
So, which is obviously, but I could literally like hear your just kind of quiver when I asked him what kind of rifle he reached for in that safe. And he said, well,
he built it.
Tough to explain.
I was like,
It wasn't a brand. I built it. I had to mill it out. And I was like, oh my God, Charlie is over here just wow. So that was, I got to tell you, that made the trip to Houston worth it alone. And that wasn't even one of our planned interviews.
Yeah, that was I was definitely being a total fanboy at that moment. Those are the kind of people I idolize.
Well, I want to take a moment here to say thank you again to my foundational sponsors here on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. One of the reasons I'm here is because of AFP, Americans for Prosperity Ohio. Donovan O'Neill and his team at AFP are putting together an amazing grassroots organization that is literally kind of set a mission to improve the state of Ohio, if that makes any sense. Right now, our state is in the middle of the pack, and it should be at the top in some of the most important areas: economic freedom, educational opportunity, and of course, energy abundance. And this state is not maximizing its resources in any way, shape, or form. This isn't about politics. This isn't about bashing one political party or any political elected officials. It's about policy and working with those who are there to establish the right policy. And it takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of ground troops to do the work. So we need volunteers at AFP Ohio. I want you to go to two websites. One is afpohio.org. The other one is buckeyeblueprint.com. Buckeye Blueprint lays out exactly how we can achieve the mission, but it takes volunteers. So if you can support AFP Ohio, they have supported me. They are supporting this show. It's one of the reasons why we've got the resources to come to Houston, and it's one of the reasons we're able to stay on the live stream every day. But we have to continue that, and we need to support our sponsors and our partners, and that's what AFP has become as a foundational partner. All right. So I want to say thank you to them, and also while we're on the topic, I want to make sure, and I'm going to get this phone number up on the screen here too, because this is important as anybody that I have. And that is my guy. I apologize. I didn't leave it, but I lost my mouse somehow, and so I'm sitting here trying to use the touch screen. I hate touch screens. The kids all have touch screens. The younger generation, they've got all the you know what I mean? They don't even use a mouse anymore. Their MacBooks and everything else they have are all touch screen.
Yeah.
My kids do that. And
I can't do it for too long. My hand starts to lock up.
Yeah, plug in a freaking a wireless mouse for me, please. That's what I need. But what I finally now am able to touch is the phone number I want you to see. Come on now. What just happened there? Show it. There it is. Mark King is as important as anybody as far as being a foundational sponsor. He was the first one on board with me, sponsored my radio program for over 5 years, immediately started sponsoring this program as well because he believes in what we're doing, because he's a patriot and he's a friend to every senior that is on Medicare. I can tell you that. Mark King is the answer to your Medicare questions. Keeping Medicare Simple, as you can see on that screen right now, an independent agency that Mark has run for nearly 40 years called Keeping Medicare Simple. It is complex. He takes the complexity out of it. You've got questions. Are you in the right plan for yourself? Can you save money by being in a different plan? Can you get more options if you go to another plan? Can you get more coverage for some more needs? Part D, Part A, Part B, they're all very complex. If you don't know if you're in the right plan for you, make a phone call. 440-832-8936. Mark will help you. He won't charge you a nickel, all right? He charges you no fees at all. But you can sit down with him and consult with him, or consult with him on the phone and learn so much more about what you can do to maximize the benefits of Medicare. So call that phone number, 440-832-8936. Talk to Mark King. And when you do, thank him for me. Thank him for being a foundational partner and sponsor of Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. So thanks to both of those guys or organizations. So Charlie, oh, I love it. Somebody's got a worker dog in here. Yeah. Great conversations, both with Amanda Suffolk earlier today and with Stephen Williford. And I don't know what we're going to get here in this last half hour.
And John Arlott.
And John Arlott, thank you. Gosh, John Arlott was so amazing.
Yeah.
I hate what happened to him.
Yeah.
I hate that because he was courageous enough to present the truth, the facts that he uncovered by his research. His academic career was wiped out.
Yep.
That should not happen.
No,
that should
it
not
shouldn't.
happen to anybody.
A lot of things shouldn't happen.
And I think he's accepting of it because it's been a while.
Yeah.
But he's even being shut out of the media, even the conservative media for the most part. And I heard the despondency in his voice, as he talks about it. What he had and what he, has been taken away from him in terms of his academic career. And nobody knows him as an economist. They just think of him as the guy who testifies before congressional committees, which he has many times, about gun rights. And he's so much more than that. Now he's here because he is also that.
Right.
But it's from a standpoint of research, not advocacy, just so everybody knows the truth. And it's cost him everything, and I just hate that fact. It made me kind of sad to see. He's very, like I said.
Well, at the same time, he can go home and sleep at night knowing that he didn't sell his soul to evil corporate media.
Yeah.
And he's doing the right thing.
But I just hate the evil corporate media.
Oh, of course.
And again, Fox News. He said Gutfeld calls him a couple of times, texts him, hey, what do you think of this? And then he'll use it in his commentary and say, according to John Lott, da-da-da, and then go on. Put him on.
Right, exactly. Yeah, get him on the show.
Give him long form to talk about these things like I do. Bigger platforms exist out there, much bigger than what we have. He needs to get out there and reach those people. And the fact that they won't talk to him is just, I don't know, it's a crime. It really is. But anyway, between John Lott and Stephen Williford and Amanda Suffolk, and then yesterday, it's been a pretty healthy 2 days.
Yeah.
We got about 28 minutes left. We're left here before we got to vacate the booth for somebody else. But what's your high point so far?
My high points? Definitely Mr. Williford.
Well, we just did. I knew it. I knew
No, you know what? I mean, everybody we talked to, there's no redundancy. I don't think in anybody that we talk to. I mean, we're all here for core values and core reasons of supporting the Second Amendment and whatnot. But there was, I don't think you could find anything out of any of those interviews that you heard from one, or that you heard from one person that you would have heard from one of the other people. Right. Everybody had their own personal stories and their own personal views on things. And so I think we did pretty darn good for being first timers.
We had a couple of people commenting on again, this is not our regular showtime, so I'm surprised we have anybody in here at all. But Fred Frog said, wow, now there's an American hero. Oh, I'm sorry, there's an American, but then with flags, and then said, a hero he is. Far West Sider said, what a great interview. The story needs to be told in a wider audience. It damn sure does. And we're going to make sure that
share it.
First of all, you can share it. Second of all, I can promise you, as I get back into the routine in Ohio next week, I'm going to take this whole interview and cut it up and put portions of it out there in shorts and a lot of different platforms so people can hear that story, because that was extraordinary. Looks like there's a troll in here too, and we're going to have to.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, of course there is. I'm going to see if I can handle that right now. I don't know if I can from the spot. Maybe not. Big Jake says, "What does FAFO on Bob's shirt mean?" Please tell me.
Come on.
Please tell me that's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a joke.
By this point in time,
Google it.
Yeah, by this point in time.
Or I'm sorry, DuckDuckGo it.
Everybody. Oh, Macromia told him.
Oh, good.
Blank around, find out. No, it's just, I was Charlie and I, when we got here yesterday. In fact, before we came down to Houston, I really should have had a little like that, made a smaller one that I could put in the corner here, but I don't. So that's where we are. I was talking to Charlie before we came down, and we were like, so what do you think the attire is like for this thing? Because we're going to be, and I've talked to a lot of people in suits today or yesterday and today. So I was thinking I should probably dress it up a little bit. But then I also saw, we came in here on Thursday night before the first day and kind of got more of a vibe here. And I was like, people are here dressed as just Americans.
Yep.
And including the hosts. I mean, they're wearing pullovers and T-shirts and gun gear. And
there's a lot of competitors here walking around with their, sponsor shirts on and stuff.
Right. So, I just kind of thought, no, we're just gonna kind of, when in Rome, right?
Right.
So we decided, and you got your guns don't kill people.
Abortions
does. Abortions do. And you've got an FAFO shirt.
I do.
And we're just kind of flexing the 1776 things and everything else, because that's where we are. This is just a slice of America. Right. There's no pretenses. There's no, my wife told me what shirt to wear, because that's what wives do. Mm-hmm. And it's an eagle shirt with an American flag and so forth. She got it for me. It's a great shirt, a collared, polo shirt kind of a thing. And I just said, no, I want to fit in with the crew. And when in Rome, this is what gun loving America looks like.
Right.
The only people who are in suits here are on the NRA board.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody else that is here is just, they're wearing jeans, ball caps, cowboy hats, T-shirts and so on. So this is the vibe here. And I got to tell you,
it's very comfortable. There's
you've been around and been a collector for years. I've never been a collector.
Mm-hmm.
You've been around guns for how long?
Ever since I was 21, actually. My parents, my dad, don't get me wrong.
So you didn't inherit this from your dad.
No,
you started this on your own?
Everything's by
Okay.
My mom was super against it. She had a couple bad experiences when she was growing up. One of her brothers got sick of her complaining, so he popped her in the back of the leg with his BB gun.
Jeez.
And my dad, he's got firearms, but my mother never let him get me involved in it. And I tell you what, sorry, Mom and Dad, but I did go hunting for him, when you guys weren't home, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so adamant about exposure.
Right.
Remove the stigma and stuff. I'm so adamant about exposure as young as possible. And but so they didn't let me do it when I turned 16. I was old enough to buy one of those CO2 pistols, and I did that as soon as I had my own money and whatnot. And then as soon as I turned 21, I was allowed to buy my first first handgun, and that was a Walther P22. And I'm surprised the barrel's not worn out at that thing, because I've put so many rounds through that at the gun range, and that was what I took my first concealed carry class in, and I'm putting all the rounds through the target, and one of the instructors walks behind me and he goes, nice shooting. He says, now get a real effing gun.
And you're like, but I lost my virginity to this gun. Well, the point I was trying to make is
so the next one was a 40.
Of course it was. You've been around this for a very long time. I have not. And what I have felt in just the last 48 hours here is like I have felt so freaking, I don't know, more comfortable.
Yeah. Camaraderie.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that. There is so much camaraderie here. There is so much a like-mindedness with people that I'm going to go most of the shows here that are live streaming or podcasting or whatever are gun specific, like Amanda's.
Right.
Amanda Suffolk has her own show, eyeonthetarget.com, eyeonthetargetradio.com, I think it is. She and her brother do. That's what all of these are like. I'm looking around Gun Freedom Radio and everything else. Right. Ours might be the only one that is not specifically a gun or
more universal
Second Amendment, right? Or,
Right.
or Second Amendment supportive program.
centric.
It is just a conservative values program
Right.
that we do that includes the Second Amendment. For all of the reasons, for all of the interviews that I've done through the years with people about, gun rights and Second Amendment, Dr. Lott, and so on and so forth. So we're a Second Amendment supportive show, but we're a conservative values talk show. And that's what this show has been for the last probably, I want to say, going back probably a good 15 years. The 11 years that I was on with Salem, the last 4 really that I was doing over on iHeart, where I was doing my own
That
show.
other station.
Yeah, that one. And now the podcast side. Just conservative values that includes the Second Amendment. And so just love these people. I'm kind of a little bit of a sore thumb because I don't have guns or 2A or something in my title. People are walking up here and they're saying, what's strictly speaking?
Right.
They've asked you that.
Yep.
And we've got our flyers out and our
Right.
cards and things like that. And it's not specific. It's not strictly shooting.
No,
It's
it
called
isn't.
strictly speaking.
Right.
But I fit in here more than probably any place I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I can even
Absolutely.
say that when I was in D.C. doing a radio row situation for FAIR that we talked about yesterday, the Federation for American Immigration Reform. It's a vet dog. That's a vet service animal.
Oh, wow.
See that?
Cool.
Says vet
Oh, there's
pet.
2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
I freaking love that.
They've locked eyes.
They look like they're
They look-
twins. They
right.
look like they're siblings.
Right.
I wish we could turn the camera
Yeah,
on
no
and show them
kidding.
this.
Uh-oh. We're having to hold them back.
But the point that I'm making here is when I say this is America and this is a part of America that I haven't really felt before. When I was in DC, it wasn't with the people, it was with the dignitaries.
Right.
It was with
Organizations.
CIS, Center for Immigration Reform, FAIR itself. I can't remember all the organizations now that I've done. Numbers USA, not to mention the legislators, Tom Holman and people
Right.
like that. The people weren't there. This is the first one where I've been with the people. And I'm just telling you what I told a few other people so far. There's no pretentiousness here.
Yeah.
There's no pretenders. There's no trolls. If you come to the NRA convention, you're here just because you are a believer in American liberty, a believer in American greatness. You're a believer in those things you can see. Faith, family, freedom, and fortitude. I've added the 4th F to it. And I did that specifically for this banner, for this show, because of what it takes, to be a defender and to be a protector like Stephen Williford. That's kind of what this whole thing was all about for me. And just in 48 hours, I've just felt like, I don't want to say felt better about our country because I've always felt great about our country, but I felt more connected with the people in it, the people here. And I'm seeing black, white, Latino, men, women. I don't know anything about their personal lives, but I'm just seeing a cross.
Nor do we care.
Right. But who all are the same people in this room.
Yep.
And all dedicated to the same thing. And I'm telling you, there's something about it that transcends guns.
Yep.
And I think the NRA transcends guns, if we're being honest.
For sure.
I mean, the values, like I said, that's why we're here. They invited me.
It's a
because
foundation.
Yeah, they invited me because they're trying to reach other people too, not just the gun enthusiasts who are
Right.
always listening to Gun Freedom Radio or
Right.
Eye on the Target, etc. They want to reach other people who are tangentially connected, I guess,
Right.
to it. And that's what conservative radio, media, live streaming, podcasting, and so on and so forth does. And I just got to tell you, man, it's just a great feeling.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's very cool here. It's amazing when they open the doors at 9:00 and they play the national anthem and the whole place just
Falls
freezes.
dead silent.
It's-
And everybody stands.
I mean, that's it. Even that,
you didn't see the guys down there taking a knee during the
no,
anthem?
nope, nobody. There was no knees, and I'm pretty sure that if they did, they wouldn't be in here very much longer after that. But I mean, not to be a sissy over it, but it's kind of emotional to see something like that and to
That's
see
what I'm
everybody
trying to
lock
say.
up.
That's what I'm
You
trying
know?
to say without being a sissy, like you
Right.
said.
I'll take it.
Although I pulled it off. No, I mean, I'm trying to say there's a connection here that I just really feel
Yeah.
that I don't know. I'm so glad that I'm here and that we're here.
Kind of
I'm very
rebuilds your
grateful to you.
faith in people and people
I don't know
out
if I'd say
there,
rebuilds it, but it affirms it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I didn't really lose it,
right?
but it really affirms it. This is faith affirming care is
Yeah.
what it is
Yeah,
here.
there you go.
Just that these people are here, and like I said, the cross section and the demographics are all over the place, and they're all here, united by the belief in the same things, those things that are on that sign. And I don't know. So I don't know if we're going to get any other guests here in the last 15 minutes. We were supposed to get some of the Wesson family. We were told we're going to be coming by, but they were coming by at 11, and we went long with Stephen Williford. So I don't know if we're going to do that. But yeah, Tom Taylor and two of the Wesson brothers, John and Dane Wesson.
Yeah.
Who are
as in Smith and Wesson.
Correct, the sons of the original founder. But I don't know if we're going to get them or not. Peyton Jackson was supposed to come too, but there was a big snafu, I guess, in her schedule. She didn't come in until late last night, kind of overnight. So she had some different things this morning than they were originally planned, but I hope we can run into her. And if we don't get her today, which it looks like it's going to be the case, there's a chance maybe we'll get her tomorrow for that 1 hour, that 1 hour period. Yeah, we're going to have a shorty tomorrow because the flight leaves at 1 something. So we're going to 1 something Houston time. So we're going to probably need to be heading to the airport by about 11. So we're going to do a 10 to 11 situation here tomorrow. And then, we'll bring you what we can bring you. But one thing I think we are going to do, and I tried to do this yesterday, but then my phone battery, you'll verify, when we got done with the live stream yesterday, I kind of wanted to just go around to show you some of the convention, some of the displays, vendors, others. Look at the helmet. Look at his helmet. Look at him. He's like SEAL team.
Hey, there's no law that says dogs aren't allowed to carry.
That's freaking awesome. Look at that. I mean, it had like the night goggle
Right.
scopes.
Yep.
That's
awesome.
The canine vet service dogs are here, or I don't know, they're not canine units.
They got the
they're vet
dogs.
service dogs.
Dogs are all tacked out.
And they're all all tactical gear. You know what I could be doing is taking video of it or pictures of it when they come by. Come on,
What?
And by the way, why didn't you get any pictures of me and John Lott?
Oh, for crying out loud! Because I wasn't here.
Thank you, because you were sitting in John Lott's booth.
Right.
That's why I was good. Just wait. Anyway, so what I'm going to try to do, what I didn't do yesterday, and I think I've got more battery now.
Yeah, it should be full.
Yeah, we should be good. Yes, sir. Is I want to, I don't know if I'll live stream it or video it and play it back, but one way or the other, we're going to let you see what 14,000 square feet of guns and gear really looks like. And that's pretty much what it is. It's around 5,000 feet is the actual floor. I'm sorry, not square feet.
Acres. Yes.
Acres.
14.4.
So it's around 5 acres of floor space here is what we have, and there's 3 floors, so It's roughly 14. They're saying 14,000 acres, not
14 acres.
God damn it! No, I'm taking the Lord's name in vain too. Doggone it! I keep saying 1,000. 14 acres, not 14,000 square feet, and not 14,000 acres. 5 acres per level, about. So we're calling it 14 acres on 3 levels. That's what I'm trying to say.
We'll get there.
That was painful.
That's what you get for hitting me.
But I want you to. That's what you. Never mind. You know where I'm going.
Yeah.
But no, I want you to see what it looks like. Seriously. So we're gonna, when we're done here, when we lock out here in a minute, I should probably give you a little bit of that vibe music. When we lock out here, try to give you at least a little bit of a taste of what we're seeing here. Some of the weaponry, some of the tools, some of the not just firearms, by the way, as well. There's a lot of other tactical gear here, knives and so forth.
Suppressors, sights, knives,
body
clothing,
armor,
right?
Just so much, yeah. We're going to show you everything we can. We'll take you up and maybe even give you a second or two of some of the seminars that are going on from Ed Monk, John Lott, or whomever. And hopefully we'll have something special for you tomorrow, too, for a very special Sunday episode. It'll be a short one, but we're going to bring it to you live, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock here Central Time in Houston. So I think considering it's 11:50 and I don't see any of our other guests on the way, we're going to go ahead and lock this out for now. But stick around. I think you'll get alerts when I go live on Rumble. We'll try to do that just so that you can see some more of the sights and sounds of NRA 2026 Voices of the Second Amendment, which is why we're here. Thank you to my guests, Amanda Suffolk, John Lott, Dr. John R. Lott Jr., and Stephen Williford. And thanks to Charlie, my co-host, my partner, who's helping me out in so many different ways here. And thanks to you for being a part of it, whether you're watching it live or watching it on replay. That's what this is all about. And don't forget, It needs to reach a wider audience. You're right. Share, share, share. Like the show. Don't forget that. Hit the notification button, the bell, so that you know when things are coming on, and then hit that share button. And don't forget also to join us on the locals community. Join button is just as important as well. Okay, that's how we get to reach a larger audience. Yesterday, I looked last night, and we had some 3,000 views already.
It's awesome
for just yesterday's show. So today, and the longer these sit there, it's going to be bigger and bigger, and more people need to hear these stories. All right, everybody, thank you. As always, be well, be safe, and stay free. We got more coming for you later today. Check it out. And it'll be on Facebook too. I'll put it on Instagram and Facebook too. Maybe X, maybe not, maybe YouTube, maybe not, but certainly on Rumble and Locals and on Facebook.
Just keep the phone close by.
And keep the notification tab open, notifications on. All right, everybody. We'll see you a little bit later on. Bye-bye.